but we are certainly pursuing these lines. We're being very careful because we don't want to speculate that there was a correlation or a joint planning before we actually know that that's the case.
Going to New Orleans, we know this 42-year-old man, he rammed the truck into the crowd. But is it that authorities are still looking for more suspects? They believe he did not act alone. More explosive devices were found and then taken care of by authorities later on that morning in New Orleans. Where are we with those other suspects and how many people they might be looking for?
Well, that's a great question because our sources were telling us that there was a video that investigators were reviewing that showed between 3 and 5 people that they thought might be dragging explosive devices or parts of explosive devices, and they assumed that these were potential accomplices. That was a dead end for investigators, and they now have cleared those individuals. So while they were very certain in their statements, even this morning, that there were accomplices, other people working with the attacker in New Orleans, they don't have anyone specific. They don't have any suspects. Now, the current head of the police, this police superintendent in New Orleans, said this morning publicly that there were persons of interest, but the FBI is identifying those people, talking to them. So far, according to what we have been told, no one has been elevated from, a person of interest to a suspected accomplice at this time. So it's unclear, and there's so many fast-moving parts. It was in the early hours that they were initially really talking a lot about accomplices. Now they're planning to have a football game this afternoon at 4 p.m., and they still don't know where the accomplices are. To me, it is not yet definitive that there are specific people that helped him carry out this attack in New Orleans specifically.
As we start to learn more about who these two people are, we're hearing an awful lot about the personal life of the New Orleans attacker. Just went through a recent divorce, has 3 kids, lost his job, was basically living in a mobile trailer. His life really looked like it had made a bad turn, and the parents, evidently, his ex-wife and her husband, had asked that he be removed from the children. I haven't heard that type of background story so far on the Vegas attacker. Do we know anything more about his personal life?
Well, we do. We know that he was married and had an 8-month-old daughter, according to his family. We've spoken to his father. They had a call on Christmas. He was acting normally by all accounts to those that he was interacting with around the holidays. He was, as I said, home on leave for the holidays. The people we've talked to say there was absolutely no indication of any erratic behavior.
And are they currently investigating his online presence, social media presence, to see if there were any signs of radicalization, any signs of a connection to a terrorist organization like ISIS?
Well, the FBI is working with local law enforcement in Las Vegas, and certainly they had to identify that, the person who rented this vehicle, they're still pinning down is that the DNA of the person found in the car. They believe it to be, but they have not definitively pinned that down. They probably will have that any minute now because DNA samples were sent to a crime lab for testing. We know that his home in Colorado Springs, the FBI was there. They had to seek a warrant. Some of that takes a little bit of time, but our understanding is that the FBI have visited that home. And generally, when these investigations play out, computers, electronic devices are obtained and scrubbed by the FBI. And that is a key part of the investigation, to look at social media, online online activity, looking for any signs of radicalization or any kind of extremist groups. Those are big questions that investigators will be asking.
And I know we got to let you go, and still so many questions, but I know people's minds are going towards Washington, D.C., the inauguration taking place in a couple of weeks here, just some high profile events, former President Jimmy Carter line in state. What kind of security measures are being taken right now in the nation's capital?
Even before these two incidents, this attack and then the explosion in Vegas, we were in a heightened threat environment. Just over the summer, there was an assassination attempt on former President Trump's life at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. Even before that, you had nation-state threats from Iran and elsewhere. So we've been in a heightened threat environment. We are now in an even higher threat environment, unfortunately. And so you have security officials. They are on high alert, and they are doing what they're doing. They are ramping up. They were already ramped up. There are only so many people that you can add, but as many as they can, they certainly are for all of these very high profile events. I think as President Carter lying in state, we have a big event on Saturday for that. And then really looking ahead to the inauguration on January 20th, that is a big day, especially just 4 years ago, look at what happened at the Capitol. So they're going to be on high alert for multiple reasons, again, trying to guard against multiple potential threats.
Anna Schechter, leader of the CBS Crime Beat on CBS News. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Of course.
Amy Mark Scores, Mike Elam with you. This is the Chris and Amy Show on KMOX.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at lancedrurylaw.com.
It seems every political administration has a different idea about taxes. No matter where you stand politically, you should know about the new tax proposals from the Trump administration and how they could affect you and your retirement savings. The good news is Steve All and the All Financial Group are here to help. Join us for the upcoming educational seminar Thursday, January 23rd or Tuesday the 28th at Stone Summit. You'll learn about the proposed tax changes from the Trump administration, how these changes could affect your retirement and your income in the future. Again, that's January the 23rd or the 28th at Stone Summit. Reserve your spot by calling 636-230-8824 or go online to yourmoneymattersstl.com. Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. Neither the firm nor its agents nor representatives may give tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a qualified professional for guidance before making any purchasing decisions.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Stahl, board-certified urologist and senior vice president of men's sexual health at HIMSS. In my 12 years of practice as a reproductive urologist, I've helped many guys with ED, and it has never been more convenient to treat than it is right now, thanks to HIMSS. It really wasn't easy before. You had to take time out of your day, come to a physical office, and see a specialist like me in person. Now, through HIMSS.com, you can get world-class sexual health care and a full range of treatment options for ED through a 100% online process. It starts with a free assessment from a medical provider licensed in your state who can determine if ED treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your medication is shipped to you for free. So don't wait. Join the hundreds of thousands of guys who've gotten help for their ED through HIMSS.
To start your free online visit and find ED treatment at up to 95% off brand name prices, go to hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit.
KMOX for St. Louis. By St. Louis. Always about St. Louis.
Amy Mark Scores and Mike Elam with you on a Thursday morning. We are awaiting the beginning of a press conference, the FBI press conference in New Orleans to address the terrorist attack yesterday on Bourbon Street that killed 15 people, injured dozens more a lot of questions still out there regarding this terrorist attack, which officials believe does have ties to ISIS because of the attacker had an ISIS flag in the back of his truck. Officials are also looking into another vehicle attack in Las Vegas yesterday that happened just hours later in front of the Trump Hotel, in which a Tesla Cybertruck exploded. It was full of explosives. The driver in that explosion died. 7 people were injured, and we are not sure yet if there are any ties between the 2 vehicle attacks, although both vehicles were rented through Turo, the app, the phone app there. You can rent vehicles. And then, as Mike Elam, you pointed out, both vehicles were electric vehicles. Not sure if that's just what was available or if they were picked for their weight or the fact that they burn. We just have a lot of questions still.
I thought it was also interesting that they're both military. One former military, one, it sounds like current military, who was home on leave from Germany, who came back and was meeting with family. And all reports so far had been that he was kind of just having a normal break. Nobody really talks about flags or anything. Looks like we've got somebody stepping up to the podium here for the press conference.
Good morning. I first want to start off by reminding the citizens of Louisiana that as you travel around the state, you will see the flags of all state buildings at half-mast in honor of those lives that were lost in this horrific act of violence. I also think that it's important to remember that what happened yesterday was akin to those who are old enough to remember jigsaw puzzles, and that you would take 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle and you empty the box and you've got to start sifting through those pieces. And you want to start, if you're real good, you start at the corners, right? Try to put your corners together. And from yesterday to today, over 1,000 law enforcement agents and officers, men and women, have been poring over countless amounts of data, of videos, of surveillances, interviews, tracking down every possible lead that came to us, whether it was the New Orleans Police Department, the Louisiana State Police, the FBI, or our other federal agencies. Also, yesterday, I issued an emergency declaration. That declaration was meant to streamline resources and communications between state, local, and federal partners. And we're seeing the results of it. I also would like to remind everyone that what's going on in this city and this state is twofold. We've got an active criminal investigation going on, while we're also continuing to secure the city in preparation for 3 o'clock kickoff time for the Sugar Bowl. With that, I would also remind those who are in the city that as far as state resources are concerned, we have the Louisiana State Police, the Louisiana National Guard, which was part of that emergency declaration, which allowed us to put an entire MP company on the ground. Those become force multipliers, is what we call that in law enforcement in the military. That helps to add to the resources that we have. Wildlife and Fisheries, the Department of Corrections, DSF, DHS, our Veterans Affairs, our Probation and Parole, all state agencies. Any state agency who has a post-certified officers are here in the city to help secure the city. And so with that, I would like to turn it over to Christopher Rea, who is the Deputy Assistant Director of the FBI's Counter Terrorism Division. Chris?
Thank you, Governor Landry. Good morning. I am FBI Deputy Assistant Director Christopher Rea. I'm from our Counterterrorism Division at headquarters. I'm also joined by Assistant Special Agent in Charge Alethea Duncan from our New Orleans office, who you heard from yesterday. I'm here to discuss not only the latest investigative information we have here in New Orleans, but I'll also let you know about other investigative activities outside of the state. I first, and most importantly, want to send our deepest condolences to the victims of this horrific attack and their loved ones. 14 innocent victims were killed in this senseless attack, and at least 35 are injured. We cannot ease the grief people in this community and across the nation are feeling at this time, but rest assured, we stand with you and in support of you. All the resources, and I'm going to go into that a little bit later, all the resources of the FBI are being focused on tracking down every piece of evidence, every lead, every interview, every potential lead we've got. While I won't be able to answer all your questions today, my goal is to be as forthcoming as possible with you on what we've uncovered so far. First and foremost, let me be very clear about this point. This was an act of terrorism. It was premeditated and an evil act. This was obviously a critical incident, and with that, lots of information and tips come pouring in from law enforcement, first responders, and the public. We have been aggressively running down these tips and information. As you all know, that takes time, and we will continue to do so until every lead has been followed through on. This investigation is only a little more than 24 hours old. So I ask you to keep in mind that as I go through some of the specifics later. But at this point, currently, and this is another fact I want to be clear on, we do not assess at this point that anyone else involved in this attack except for Shamsa Din Jabbar, the subject you've already been briefed on. A little bit about what the FBI is doing. So we are surging people and assets to the area from across the region and across the nation. Special agents in multiple field offices across the country have been deployed and are assisting with potential aspects of this investigation and following up on every lead. Additional teams of special agents, professional staff, and victim specialists continue to arrive to provide more investigative power and assistance to the victims and their families. We've also forward deployed a number of our critical incident response group assets, including members of our hostage rescue team, special agent bomb technicians, and crisis management coordinators. In addition, we have deployed more evidence response technicians to continue to process the various scenes that we have. So far, we have received just over 400 tips from the public, and that information is being followed up on both here in New Orleans and across the country. Some of the tips are here in New Orleans, and there are other tips in other states across the country that we are following up on. The FBI team and our law enforcement partners here are also reviewing hundreds of hours of surveillance and other video from both the French Quarter and other locations. As for a timeline, at this point, investigators believe Jabbar picked up the rented F-150 in Houston, Texas on December 30th. He then drove from Houston to New Orleans on the evening of the 31st, and he posted several videos to an online platform proclaiming his support for ISIS. There were 5 videos posted on Jabbar's Facebook account, which are time-stamped beginning at 1:29 a.m. and the last at 3:02 a.m. In the first video, Jabbar explains he originally planned to harm his family and friends, but was concerned the news headlines would not focus on the, quote, war between the believers and the disbelievers, end quote. Additionally, he stated he had joined ISIS before this summer. He also provided a will and testament. FBI and ATF. FBI, we have a couple different scenes at the location. We have released the scene at Bourbon Street. That scene has been released. We also have a scene off of Mandeville address where we're currently searching that scene right now. FBI and ATF agents have secured that house, and that location is being searched for potential evidence. On New Year's morning, Jabbar opened fire after ramming through a blocked-off area of Bourbon Street, used his truck as a weapon to run over the victims. Teams of specially trained victim specialists, again, as I said, are on the ground here in New Orleans, assisting survivors of the attack and loved ones of the deceased. We do not believe the public is in any danger around any of these locations. 3 phones linked to Jabbar have been recovered, and digital media exploitation is a priority to see what is on the devices and determine if there are any other potential leads. Additionally, we have recovered 2 laptops and are currently reviewing them for any potential leads. Those laptops were recovered at the Mandeville address. Evidence technicians will also be going over the F-150 truck Jabbar was driving. As you know, we recovered an ISIS flag from the back of the vehicle. Jabbar declared his support for the terrorist group on social media, as I stated before, as he made his way to New Orleans. FBI bomb technicians also recovered 2 IEDs in coolers, one from the cross section of Bourbon and Orleans Street, and the second at an intersection approximately 2 blocks away. There were multiple reports of other devices. Those reports turned out to be misinformation or not actual functioning devices. Those are the only 2 devices that we've been able to recover that were functional. Both devices were rendered safe on scene. We did obtain surveillance footage showing Jabbar placing the devices where they were found. 2 other, as I said before, 2 other items of interest were determined not to be IEDs. A little bit about Jabbar. Jabbar himself was born in the United States and is a U.S. military veteran. We are looking in everything in his life. While we have interviewed many people who know Jabbar, we still need to talk to others. Whether you know Jabbar personally, worked with him, served in the military, or saw him in New Orleans or Texas, we need to talk to you. You may not think you have relevant information, but what you know could tie in to one of our investigative leads. Specifically, we want to talk to anyone who was in the French Quarter on New Year's Eve or early on New Year's Day. That includes people spotted near one of the 2 IEDs on Bourbon Street. The IED was inside a cooler, and many people stopped and looked at the cooler and then continued on their way. Let's be clear. Again, we do not believe at this point these people are involved in this incident in any way. We want to speak to them as witnesses and want to know what they saw and when. I went down to the crime scene last night. It is very hard to put into words what it looked like and how difficult it was to see. Anyone with information can call us at 1-800-CALL-FBI or send digital tips to fbi.gov/Bourbon Street attack. Early this morning, evidence response teams finished their work at the crime scene. Bourbon Street has been turned over to the city of New Orleans. As you know, there's also an FBI investigation in Las Vegas. We are following up on all potential leads and not ruling everything out. However, at this point, there is no definitive link between the attack here in New Orleans and the one in Las Vegas. And again, I'll preface everything with what I started with in the beginning, which was this is very early in an investigation like this. Again, our thoughts and prayers are with the victims of this tragedy and everyone impacted across the country. They remain at the heart of our investigation. I also, although I've only been on the ground here a short time, I also want to express a sincere appreciation for our partners here, which include the U.S. Attorney's Office, HSI, ATF, the New Orleans PD, the Louisiana State Police, the Governor's Office, and countless others. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to the special agent in charge of ATF here, Josh Jackson.
Hey, good afternoon. As stated, my name is Joshua Jackson. I am the special agent in charge for the ATF New Orleans Field Division. And ATF's primary mission is preventing, reducing, and solving violent crime throughout the United States and abroad. Solving part is the focus of this investigation. ATF resources that have been brought to bear to the city and to focus with our federal, state, and local partners have been our national response team. We spoke about the scene that's still being processed now. The national response team of ATF is a team of certified fire investigators, certified explosive specialists, fire engineers, electrical engineers. These folks will give us additional investigative leads to help the investigative team identify what happened at the location in Mandeville and identify how that fire started and move the investigation forward from there. Additional resources that ATF has brought to bear into the city is our ATF Special Response Team. This is a tactical team capable of handling any sort of enforcement operation. This team is deployed, on set, and ready for the Sugar Bowl today. This team is also made available to the Louisiana State Police and also New Orleans Police Department to assist with any efforts that they may have during this period. Additional resources, as the governor alluded to, he executed executive powers and had an emergency declared to where ATF was able to tap in to Emergency Support Function 13 resources. This allowed us to bring additional explosive detection canines so that we can safely sweep the city and safely sweep the Super Bowl in preparation for the game today. These resources will still be in the city as we lead up to the Super Bowl and through Mardi Gras. These type of ATF resources will be here. The last resources the ATF has brought to bear, and probably the most important one, is our victim witness coordinators. These folks come in and they provide resources to the victims and the family members that have suffered greatly during this tragedy. The entire city hurts, but the victims and the family members are in need of resources and care long after this investigation wraps up. This time next year to be hard for the families and friends who suffered during this event. So our victim witness coordinators are working with the FBI, the city of New Orleans coordinators to provide resources to these folks out here. And as we move forward, ATF will be committed. We will work with the investigative team moving this investigation forward, but also we'll be here to make sure the city is safe and prepared as we move into the Super Bowl. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our mayor of this great city, New Orleans. Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, good morning once again.
You were listening to the FBI press conference in New Orleans. We heard from a few people, starting with the governor of the governor of Louisiana, Jeff Landry. We then heard from the FBI Deputy Assistant and Counterterrorism, and then the special agent in charge of the ATF, going through what we know regarding this attack in New Orleans that happened on Bourbon Street. A couple of, I guess, maybe clarifications, Mike. They did mention the death toll at 14.
Which is down from the original 15.
And I'm not sure if that's because in the original 15, that counted the attacker. If that was like the total of 15, I'm not sure why, but they did say the death toll is 14, dozens injured. Also, there were reports that seemed pretty certain coming out yesterday and even as early as this morning. Ann Schechter mentioned this, that it seemed that there were other people involved. Multiple times, the FBI said, we believe he did not act alone. However, those other reports of multiple devices across New Orleans, across the French Quarter, there were 2 devices only. There weren't 4, there weren't 6. There were only 2 devices that were functional that the FBI was able to take care of, render them non-functional. And the videos show that those 2 devices were placed there by Jabbar, the guy who drove the truck and started shooting at law enforcement officials. So that is really a huge development in going from there might be 4 people out there we're looking for to they do believe it was just Jabbar.
It kind of makes you wonder at this point because we heard that he was an IT specialist and an HR specialist. What they didn't talk about is, does he have any expertise in doing IEDs? Like, we haven't heard anything about that. Obviously, he's former military, but we're not quite sure what his training was in the military other than IT and HR. I don't know a lot of HR directors that are putting together bombs at home, but I don't know a lot of HR directors, to be honest with you. So, we'll see what that works out. So I think what we're learning from all of this is that it's a situation that's highly in flux. And the more that they continue to look at this, the more you're going to start seeing the rumors fall. The truth will kind of weed it out and you'll get some clarity there. But we're having a pretty widespread focus that we had. I mean, now we know that the truck came from Houston is where he picked it up. There was that original report because it is a rental. The truck had been across the Mexican border. It came across Eagle Pass and ended up in Houston, but they didn't know, was he in that truck then, or did he pick it up later? So now we know he picked it up in Houston. Whoever took it across the border was a different renter, it sounds like. So we don't know all the connections back from Houston. We don't know how much pre-planning was there. They didn't really talk about the video messages that he had left.
Yes, and he had, it seemed he had posted 5 videos in support of ISIS on the drive from Houston to New Orleans. And just for clarification, because the whole rental car thing is confusing, how he picked it up in Houston and why did it go through Eagle Pass? If you're not familiar with Turo, the car rental app, it's like part of the gig economy is I could rent out my car. I could rent out my car to anybody. It's where you can quite literally rent out your own car. If you have an extra car, I have a friend who does that because he's got an extra old car. It's nice, but instead of selling it, he thought, well, I'll use it as a rental car. People have used Turo, but because it is an app where just regular people can rent out their cars, there might be less tracking maybe than if it were like an Enterprise or a Hertz rental car where you're like, how do you not know? How did Enterprise not know where they're? Well, it's not a big rental car company. It's just an app. It's a car rental app.
And that makes a lot of sense. And I think what we got from this press conference, it feels like they're really trying to focus on what's going on right now and are there other threats that we need to be worried about? I mean, that was interesting. And we were talking about this in the studio while this was going on. You have the Sugar Bowl, as Jeff Landry talks about, the Sugar Bowl going on this afternoon at 3. And then you have the Super Bowl that's coming up later on this month. And then you've got Mardi Gras that's going on.
My gosh.
I mean, 3 huge events. So obviously the FBI is going to be hyper-focused on, are there other threats that we need to be aware of? And it sounds like they have really kind of ruled out a lot of that. So people have a fairly decent peace of mind. I mean, the governor had said, I am going to be at the game today at 3 o'clock. So trying to instill a sense of safety and comfort level for the people who will be attending the Sugar Bowl today.
Yeah, and I do wonder if it's partly because the FBI has clarified and seemed to have strongly determined that there are not other suspects in that area who took place. Because I will say, going into this morning, Mike, I was a little shocked. Like, if they are still looking for 4 suspects, how in the world can you go through with a football game? But it looks like they were already in the process of confirming. No, the other reports of multiple devices, there were only 2. Both were placed by Jabbar. The FBI was able to take care of those, render them non-functional. And the FBI, interesting too, looking for anybody who was in the French Quarter on Bourbon Street at that time. Really interesting that one of the IEDs was in a cooler and that people walked by and looked at it. I mean, how many people are going to remember anything about New Year's Eve night in the French Quarter.
Well,
I mean,
especially 2 o'clock in the
at 2
morning
o'clock
in the French Quarter.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I imagine that it is, you're just putting out feelers. Hopefully anybody can have some information, but I could see myself in that situation. Well, first of all, I couldn't really see myself. I'm a prude. I don't go out and get drunk. But if I were in that situation, just the chaos of the revelry, if you saw a cooler, I wouldn't think twice of it.
Well, and
Twice about
it makes you wonder, what did that IED look like?
Right.
I mean, was it something that would catch your eye? Was it something that would blend right in? Was it disguised? You don't know right now. So it's easy to armchair quarterback a lot of things, right? But
Yeah.
I think right now, people should feel good about the fact that it seems like this is somebody who worked alone, or at least in the New Orleans part. If he did have help, then it was going to be help earlier. It was done before he got to New Orleans. So we've got a game coming up at 3 o'clock this afternoon. So folks if you have loved ones that are down maybe for the game, you should have a good sense of comfort that the FBI seems to have a good handle on what's going on.
Yeah, and then the two scenes, crime scenes that the FBI deputy assistant mentioned, those are all surrounded. They recovered 3 phones, 2 laptops, all again connected to Jabbar. He's Mike Elam. I'm Amy Mark Scores. Did you see this? Is next on the Chris and Amy Show on KMOX.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
Charlie Brennan once again with Dr. Colleen Bosler at the Audiology Center. Dr. Bosler, is it possible we might say, oh, those kids are mumbling, when the problem really is our own inability to hear?
Exactly. Hearing is integral in everything that we do. It keeps us involved and embraced in life. Not hearing someone is never normal. Ringing in the ears is never normal. And when people have a hearing loss, oftentimes they complain that they can hear, but they cannot understand people. And avoiding getting a hearing aid can have long-term effects on the speech reception area of the brain. So what that means is if you test and treat the hearing loss early with a hearing aid, we can prevent a decline in the speech understanding that can happen if the hearing loss goes untreated.
The words of Dr. Colleen Bosler at the Audiology Center. 3 locations in St. Louis, 636-441-7470, the Audiology Center, STL.com.
The American Cancer Society calls upon Black women from all walks of life to join Voices of Black Women, a groundbreaking research study led by the American Cancer Society. Voices of Black Women is designed to better understand why and how cancer and other health conditions impact Black women. Go to voices.cancer.org.
In the U.S., there are about 60 million adults 65 and older. And last year, nearly 1 million of them were hospitalized due to flu, COVID, or RSV. That's nearly 1 million people who planned to go visit family or see friends, but ended up in the hospital instead. So get this season's vaccines and don't let flu, COVID, or RSV make you just another number.
Risk less. Do more. Get started at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Local news can come at you fast. Want the latest on what's happening in your backyard? Download the free Odyssey app. Follow your local news station, and you'll get alerts on the top stories making headlines in your city. You can stay in the know, no matter what you're up to, and be among the first to find out when news breaks. Plus, keep tabs on weather and traffic, so you're never caught off guard. To get started, download the Odyssey app. That's AUDACY, and follow your local news station.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Make sure your family is well taken care of with life insurance. Protect your phones, laptops, and more with electronic device insurance, and cover your furry friends with pet health insurance.
We can get more sleep, we can get more sun, and we can get more exercise. But the one thing that we can't get more of is time. It's time to eliminate the one phrase that could be holding you back from reaching your retirement goals. I'll take care of it tomorrow. It's time to pick up the phone and make the call to Gary Goldberg and the team at Financial and Tax Strategies. 618-361-4232 or online at checkwithgary.com. Investment advisory services offered through Centaurus Financial Inc., an SEC registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Gary Goldberg, NPN number 918615.
KMOX and the St. Louis Cardinals are thrilled that the 28th Winter Warm-Up is back at Busch Stadium and Ballpark Village, January 18th to 20th. Admission passes and player autograph tickets are on sale now. Team up with Cardinals Care to support St. Louis area children by purchasing your tickets now. It's one of the best events of the year, with family-friendly activities including tours of the Cardinals Clubhouse and admission to the world-class Cardinals Hall of Fame and Museum. Get more info at KMOX.com/events.
Make 2025 the year you get started on your next success with the University of Maryland Global Campus. An accredited state university, UMGC is a school for real life, helping working adults like you learn the skills you need for the career you want. Choose from more than 135 degrees and certificates in career-relevant fields and earn up to 90 credits toward a bachelor's for prior learning and life and work experience, or transfer up to 12 credits toward a master's. We offer scholarships, affordable tuition, and online and hybrid classes, all with the support you need from your first day to graduation day and beyond. Get a head start on your goals in the new year. Now is the perfect time to take the next step in your life and education at University of Maryland Global Campus. Apply now and save with no application fee. Undergraduate and most graduate courses start January 8th. Learn more at umgc.edu. That's umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
Reel in the big one at the best fishing expo in the Midwest, the Let's Go Fishing Show, on January 3rd through 5th at Gateway Convention Center in Collinsville. Visit vendors with the latest fishing boats, rods, reels, tackle, accessories, resorts, and guided services. Shop unique, one-of-a-kind items, and top-of-the-line marine electronics at discount prices. Attend free seminars. Meet pro anglers, Bassmaster Elite Series pros Brandon Palaniuk, Steve Kennedy, and more. Free fishing pond. Win prizes from Wholesale Batteries, Canoe Canada, and Tri-State Trolling Motors. Visit letsgoshows.com for coupons and more info.
I'm Joe Pott. This is KMOX, the voice of St. Louis.
Now, did you see this? With Chris and Amy.
Well, it goes without saying, Mike, that you and I, well, I hate to speak for you.
Oh,
but
go ahead.
You
Why
and I,
not?
don't you feel old sometimes?
Sometimes?
Like young at heart, but old sometimes?
Oh, lately I feel very old all the time.
All the time. Okay. And I'm, over 40 now.
Jeez, that must be bad
I'm
for
on
you.
the back nine.
I feel so bad for you.
Well, I have great news.
Yay!
That guy over there,
Yes?
who looks like he can't drive. Maybe he's in 4th grade.
He is aging well.
You are old too, because guess what?
Ooh.
Forget about Gen Z. Forget about Gen Alpha.
I
the
know
kids
where
that
you're
are
going
10,
here.
that are 10 years old. Gen Beta.
That's it.
Started yesterday. Gen Beta, which a lot of people have said sounds like a practice generation.
It really does, doesn't it?
It does. So Gen Beta, everyone born from yesterday to, I think, 2035 will be considered Gen Beta.
They're all test episodes.
And they are test episodes. And get this. A lot of the people born in Gen Beta
Yeah.
will live to see the 22nd century.
Wow.
That's weird, right?
So years ago, when I had just turned 40, so it wasn't yesterday.
Uh-huh. It was like 4 years ago.
Yeah. So math is not your strong suit. So this guy was talking about the fact, and this was probably, I was at Hubbard back then. So it would have been maybe 20 years ago.
Mhm.
And he said, 15 years ago, he said, if you're in this generation right now, you should plan to living over 120 years. You just have to come to terms that by the time you get to 120,
Yeah.
you will be more mechanical than you are human.
Like Darth Vader.
We are so good at making replacement parts now
Yeah.
in the medical industry that you get new hips, new knees. We're all kind of used to that, but you get new corneas, you can get new hearts, new lungs. All this stuff can be replaced, it turns out. And we'll see if this beta generation, they'll get to try out a whole lot more.
They probably will. I don't know. It kind of makes me tired. I am tired.
Hey, to me, it's
I'm
not
40
about
and I'm tired.
it's not about quantity, it's about quality.
That's right.
Right? As long as I have good quality, I'm good. I mean, Jimmy
Yeah.
Carter just left us at 100. But you got to see, I mean, that at the end, when they were wheeling Jimmy out, Jimmy.
He
Yeah,
looked
that
a
wasn't
little-
Jimmy.
I feel like they shouldn't have shown him on TV.
I know.
Don't show me on TV when I'm like that. I feel bad. Hey, he's Mike Elam. I'm Amy. Mark scores over there is the youngster Matt Pajeski.
Former youngster.
Former youngster, yeah. When we come back, we've got some thoughts on New Year's Eve celebrations. And, of course, Bernie Miklasz joins us. It's the Chris and Amy Show on KMOX.
Broadcasting from the Underlaw Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studios.
KMOX.
Tom Ackerman, Missouri sports fans, we have good news for you. Underdog is available to play in your state. Underdog, the best place to cash in during the playoffs. With their champs game, you can win up to 1,000 times your money by just choosing higher or lower on player stats. You can pick yards, touchdowns, interceptions, and much more. It's the only champs platform, Underdog, that puts the power to cash out in your hands. And now you can either keep riding with your entry or tap the Win Now button to cash out whenever you want. I love to play it. I can't wait to play my next play. Underdog is the best place to play champs. Download the app, sign up with promo code TOM, deposit now, get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code TOM. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
This year has flown by, and now you're planning to sell your home. Like you, most families have been waiting on the sidelines. Now the timing is better, but maybe you still have questions, right? This is Debbie Monterey for Gloria Lou with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. I've been telling you about Gloria Lou for years now because Gloria Lou is St. Louis's real estate expert. And if you have a home to sell, you need to get to know Gloria like I have. I've seen her systems, her guarantees. I've even met some of her clients. Gloria is different than any other realtor. If you need help selling for the most money, you need to call Gloria Lou. Here's another tip. If you have a home to sell in Crestwood, Shaw, Maplewood, or the Central West End, you absolutely must call Gloria Lou. Take it from me, Debbie Monterey, and call Gloria Lou at 314-325-6888. 314-325-6888. Online at gloriahasthebuyers.com. Conditions apply. Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit, 800-329-2121, 800-329-2121, 800-329-2121.
KMOX, KECK HD2, K254CR, St. Louis.
The home of the Cardinals, KMOX. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Hi, this is Margaret from Eamon Gantner in Capriano. In the last year, my family has changed. There's a new baby, a new fiance, and an empty chair where Graham used to sit. Family, health, wealth, it all changes. And my estate plan changes too. Eamon Gantner in Capriano works with me in all of my life's changes, adjusting strategies for when I'm here and when I'm not. What about you? Are there changes in your family? Do you have an estate plan? When was the last time you reviewed it with an attorney? Eamon Gantner and Capriano offers a free webinar where you'll learn more on legal strategies of wills and trusts. Check their website, yourestateMatters.com. Eamon Gantner and Capriano, your St. Louis estate and long-term care planning attorneys. Online at yourestateMatters.com. The choice of an attorney is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertising.
At 11 o'clock, we have cloudy skies and 38 degrees downtown at the Arch. Good morning. I'm Scott Jagow. Our top story this hour, the latest from the attack in New Orleans. The FBI's Deputy Assistant Director, Christopher Rea, addressed the media a short time ago.
First and foremost, let me be very clear about this point. This was an act of terrorism. It was premeditated and an evil act. But at this point, we do not assess at this point that anyone else is involved in this attack except for Shamsa Din Jabbar, the subject you've already been briefed on.
The FBI also said that Shamsa Din Jabbar, a U.S. citizen from Texas, posted 5 videos on Facebook in the hours before the attack in which he aligned himself with ISIS and said he had joined the militant group last summer. Meanwhile, the attack that killed at least 15 people in New Orleans led officials to postpone the Sugar Bowl by a day. It is now set for 3 p.m. this afternoon Central Time. New Orleans Police Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick says security has been tightened for the game between the Georgia Bulldogs and Notre Dame.
We have proven that we can provide safe passage to the Superdome and back. We've done that time and time again.
Here locally, the fight over who gets to replace the outgoing St. Louis County prosecuting attorney continued today in a court of appeals.
Tell me, in addition to answering Judge Richter's question, why the prosecuting attorney is a county officer.
Last month, the judge sided with Missouri Governor Mike Parson, saying the prosecuting attorney is not a county office and represents the state of Missouri, saying the governor gets to pick Wesley Bell's replacement. In their appeal, attorneys for County Executive Sam Page pushed back.
Article 6, Section 11 says, except in counties which frame and amend a charter for their own governments, the compensation of all county officers shall either be prescribed by law or established by each county.
Attorneys General on behalf of the governor argued prosecuting attorneys represent the state of Missouri and prosecute state laws on their behalf despite being paid by the counties. No ruling was made by the 3 appeals court judges at the time of the hearing. Sean Malone, KMOX News.
From the KMOX business desk, members of Congress don't get rich from their paychecks, but they can from buying and selling stocks. Missouri Senator Josh Hawley says he won't stop pushing his attempt to ban stock trading among congressional members. He says several members made a gob of money right before the pandemic broke out.
By selling and buying companies that had to do with healthcare, had to do with vaccines, had to do with medical supplies and masks. Multiple of these people were actually investigated by federal agents because it looked so bad. It looked as if it were insider trading, but in fact, it wasn't technically insider trading. It was just that these members of Congress got briefings and information and then acted on it.
Hawley says his proposal has bipartisan support and President-elect Trump also is in favor of it. The Dow from Stifel is up 60 points.
KMOX AccuWeather, mostly cloudy today. Look for a late day shower, high 48. A rain or snow shower this evening. Then some clearing and brisk late tonight, though 27. Tomorrow, breezy and colder with sunshine and some clouds, high 36. For Saturday, mostly cloudy and cold with a high of 31. This is AccuWeather meteorologist Joe Lundberg on the Voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
Right now, we have 39 degrees in St. Peters and Florissant, 38, mostly cloudy downtown at the Arch. I'm Scott Jagow, KMOX News.
The Chris and Amy Show is sponsored by the Decluttering Gurus, turning chaos into minimalism, one junk drawer at a time.
Amy Mark Scores with you alongside Mike Elam, sitting in for Chris Ranji, who is visiting his family in Chicago, the wife, the kids.
The pseudo family.
Yes, where he lives as a Republican mega donor in a brownstone in the city of Chicago. That's the
How
only
does he
explanation.
feel about this? How does he feel about this whole he has a dual life going on scenario?
I think he feels relieved that the truth is out. I do. I think there's a little bit of a burden that's lifted off his shoulders that he doesn't have to, bear the burden of living a lie.
I'd really love to know as a Republican mega donor, who does he give to the most?
Probably Hawley.
You think so?
Probably Hawley. I think he was a big Ron DeSantis guy.
Oh, I can
Trump
see
won
that.
him over with the Meatball Ron moniker.
Oh, there
that
you
was
go.
That was good. That was objectively funny.
That was good. That really was.
So I think he started donating to Meatball Ron, is my guess, because you got to love it. Okay, speaking of ridiculous things, on New Year's Eve, like the dynamic duo of Andy Cohen and Anderson Cooper,
Yes.
is pretty funny. Love it, hate it, whatever it is. And I want to go back to the original viral clip of Andy Cohen and Anderson Cooper. And that is when Andy Cohen on New Year's Eve a few years ago went on a drunken rampage against the New York Mayor Bill de Blasio. this went viral, and to me, this is what put their New Year's Eve celebration on the map.
Tell us something, Andy.
Watching Mayor de Blasio
Don't go on a rant.
do his
Don't go on a rant.
victory lap dance after 4 years of the
This is how you
crappiest
want to start the
term
new year.
as the mayor of New York. The
That's how
only
you wanna
thing
start the new
that
year?
Democrats and Republicans can
That's
agree
how-
on
I mean, this
is
is
what
how-
a horrible mayor
is
he
how
has
he-
been.
Wow.
So, sayonara, sucker.
That was so good.
Sayonara, sucker.
It was so good. And Anderson Cooper going, "Don't do this, Andy. Don't go on a rant. Is this how you want to start the new year?" So that really was one of my favorite moments. But this most recent New Year's Eve to ring in 2025, the comedian Whitney Cummings was on with Anderson Cooper and Andy Cohen. And I'm not sure that Anderson Cooper was terribly amused.
2024 election fried our brains. The Democrats couldn't hold a primary because they were too busy holding a body upright. Are we still rolling? Am I off?
Go for it.
It was amazing that the pro-choice party didn't give their voters one when it came to the presidential candidate. Kamala was forced on us so hard you'd think she was patented by Pfizer or Moderna, whichever one's. Oh, God. Andy just gave me a very scary look.
No!
Anderson Cooper and was like retreating. That was the rain. It was terrible weather. You could hear the rain on their umbrellas, but I thought they were really funny jokes. And here's the thing. What I love about comedians is they should go after everybody.
Right.
Comedy is better when you just go after everybody because everybody is worthy of some mockery and scorn. But I couldn't tell watching it if Anderson Cooper was actually very unamused or if he was just kind of over it by that time because it was cold and in the rain. But
I don't
Whitney
think
Cummings,
he was really amused.
yeah, looking at Anderson Cooper, it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
She am I on? Am I still on? She genuinely thought she was getting cut.
Well, because they weren't giving her feedback that, hey, this is funny. You know, keep going. I'm really liking this.
Yeah.
She was getting the, I'm not tracking you.
I thought it was really funny.
I thought when you were going to talk about the rant that he went on this whole rant a couple years back because it was raining.
Andy Cohen or Anderson Cooper?
Andy Cohen.
Okay.
Went off on a rant on the New York City police because you could not have umbrellas in Times Square during this. So he's like, so he had this big, huge hood up on his jacket. It was freezing. They're getting pelted with rain and you couldn't have an umbrella. And he went off on this whole thing about how stupid it is that you're going to force people to stand here in the rain and not allow them to have umbrellas. So he got, after that happened that year, he got umbrellas approved to be used. And that's why they had the umbrellas this year, but they have to be clear umbrellas. So that's why the umbrellas that they had. And then once they had the umbrellas, Anderson Cooper kept getting under Andy Cohen's umbrella and the water was running off of Anderson's umbrella onto the face of Andy Cohen. And he kept pushing his umbrella all night long. Like, get this darn thing out of my face. What are you doing?
That's really funny. And,
it really was.
And they were doing promos on CNN for this Anderson Cooper, Andy Cohen New Year's Eve celebration. And it was funny because Andy Cohen was showing a clip of Anderson Cooper covering the hurricanes in Florida. He's like, Anderson, you're wet. You're disheveled. What are you doing? Like he was just disgusted. I had no idea how much Andy Cohen hates being in the rain and that he got the umbrellas approved. So it's kind of a funny duo because it's a little chaotic because Andy Cohen doesn't care.
No.
He's a total drama magnet with all of his shows like The Real Housewives and his own Bravo show. Like he's just drama and he doesn't care. And I think there's something really funny about that.
Well, he's made a career of pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
You know, with all the housewife stuff that's been going on and all of that time. But Anderson Cooper, you get the idea that he loves how Andy Cohen pushes him because it opens him up a little bit more to not be Anderson Cooper, CNN, right? But he doesn't want to give into it. I think it's that old joke of she blushes a lot, but she never says no. You know, that's kind of the Anderson Cooper of, oh, I really hate this. Let's keep going.
Well, I think it's because he's like me. He's uptight.
He's very
He
uptight.
is incredibly uptight.
Yes.
You can look at his face and think, that man's uptight.
But like we were talking about, his laugh is the most strange laugh that I've heard of any news anchor do publicly.
I'm trying to picture it. How can you replicate it?
I can't. I don't even, I don't know.
Is it giggly? Like,
No, it's like, I don't even know how to do it.
because I don't see him laugh that often. And when he does, it's like, it's a silent smile where it's just like,
Right. But this year,
yeah.
he let it go. And it's this weird, awkward, not even a cackle. I mean, it's not a Kamala Harris type laugh.
She has a cackle. I have a guffaw.
A guffaw?
Yeah. And it was written that way. Like
It was
yes,
written that way.
Yeah. Somebody. So I didn't know I had a guffaw until I would run my age on my birthday in miles. So when I turned 30, I ran 30 miles, 34,
Holy
34
crap.
miles, 38 miles, and so forth. And so a Terrain magazine, which is like an outdoor magazine, wrote a story about me. And it said, and Amy with her signature guffaw. And I not only have a guffaw,
It's a signature.
It's a signature guffaw.
I've got the Anderson Cooper laugh for you. If you
Oh, thank you.
That's not it, is it really?
That's it.
He had some of them that he was doing, and it was more of like a whine.
Yeah.
It's not,
Well,
wasn't even a like there, you didn't, if you heard it, you wouldn't think he was having a good time. Like it's a whimper.
okay, I think he's trying to hold it in. I got to go to bat here for Anderson because people hate my laugh. Do you remember the wine line with Charlie Brennan?
Yeah.
65 to 75% of the wines on the wine line were people who hated my laugh. People who said they listened to KMOX for 87 years and would stop listening to KMOX because they hate my laugh. It's very hurtful, but people say it. They still have said it. And so
I feel like I haven't been funny enough in my time around you because
You've
I
never
haven't
heard me
heard
laugh?
you do, I mean, you do that type of laugh.
I wheeze, I guffaw. It's very unladylike. I don't know.
I wish
how
I
to
knew what a
stop it.
guffaw was. If I knew that, I would understand it with so much
Well,
better.
this guy is
When
not a
you-
loyal listener of our show.
when you grow up in Northwest Arkansas, big words like guffaw don't
Yeah.
really make it
It's
there.
2 syllables.
Yeah, it's that's not a normal American word. That's something that's made up
Guffaw.
somewhere.
Well, I
really
will
not
say
it.
maybe Anderson maybe he's self-conscious about his laugh, and so he was trying to hold it in.
He may be. My friend Erica Land, by the way,
Uh-huh.
has the best laugh you have ever heard. And if you're ever in a room, and I mean you could be in a ballroom,
Yeah.
if Erica laughs, you will know she is in the room. She actually won $1,000 from a Stephen DC show one year.
Really?
For having the best laugh. It is the loudest, most joyful, from the belly,
Oh, that's awesome.
huge laugh that you ever hear. And once she starts, she can't
She
stop.
can't stop. That is awesome. I love it. Okay, while we're on the New Year's Eve riff here, I need to ask Matt, and you can jump in on this. Do you watch the Rose Bowl parade?
No.
No.
Did you ever watch the Rose Bowl parade?
I was forced to when I was younger,
Okay.
but when it became my choice, I don't watch any parades.
Yeah.
Just so you know. I am a non-parade watcher.
Yeah, you're anti-parade.
I am, yeah. I
So-
just don't get it. I don't understand.
Here's the thing. I love the idea of a parade.
The
I
idea.
love knowing that it's going on. I love knowing that people are lining the streets to watch this parade. I love knowing that it's on TV. I just don't like watching parades. They're boring.
They are boring.
They're so boring. But I want to like them. So I will say the Rose Bowl parade is it's more palatable than the Thanksgiving Day parade, which is so boring. I even turned it on because I thought it's Thanksgiving Day. I need to watch the
I did
Macy's
too.
Day Parade.
I tried.
You tried.
I did. I tried.
37 seconds into it, they're still going back to the Broadway show on the little Macy's star, and
Right.
you want to die.
And it's all voice track stuff. And you're like,
People you've
okay.
never heard of.
Right.
Yeah.
And shows I'm never going to see.
So yesterday, I did not watch the Rose Bowl parade because I always forget about it, but I wanted to see some of it. And I feel sad that I missed it because I love the idea of a parade and I love knowing that people are gathering their families to go. It's just
The whole Macy's Day thing with the big floats and all
Yeah.
that stuff. I'm like, okay. So I watched a balloon go by, and I stood here for 8 hours
Yeah.
to watch a balloon go by, or to hear a marching band that I could hear any Friday night during the fall at any football game in America. It's just like, okay, good for
I
you.
feel un-American though, poo-pooing parades.
I
Yeah,
think the
aren't
majority
parades-
of people don't go. I will go to a parade. Blues win Stanley Cup.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going, right? Rams won, I'm going, right? That's a celebration. I'm into that. Like that works.
You're an
But,
elitist. You
I-
only go to championship parades.
I am. Well, you don't celebrate losers. That's just kind of how it works, right? We should have a loser parade
We
at some
should.
point. Your season sucks so bad.
Yeah.
And Texas almost got one of those because, to watch them, not to go all sports, but to watch somebody blow something like that, they should have gotten a parade for the
Parade.
biggest meltdown, but they didn't earn it.
Well, we talked about me being uptight. I was doing the New York Times crossword puzzle, and the answer they were going for was the Pride Parade, but I had filled in a couple of the letters, or just one of the letters wrong. So let me rephrase that. I'd filled in the letters except for some vowels, and I actually had filled in the Prude Parade.
Prude Parade.
Instead of the Pride Parade. And let me tell you, the Prude Parade is very different than the Pride Parade.
Those are different aspects of the scale. That is for
But
sure.
I would definitely be in the Prude Parade. And this Prude Parade continues. He's Mike Elam. I'm Amy Mark Scores. It is the Chris and Amy Show on KMOX.
It seems every political administration has a different idea about taxes. No matter where you stand politically, you should know about the new tax proposals from the Trump administration and how they could affect you and your retirement savings. The good news is Steve All and the All Financial Group are here to help. Join us for the upcoming educational seminar Thursday, January 23rd or Tuesday, the 28th at Stone Summit. You'll learn about the proposed tax changes from the Trump administration, how these changes could affect your retirement and your income in the future. Again, that's January the 23rd or the 28th at Stone Summit. Reserve your spot by calling 636-230-8824 or go online to yourmoneymattersstl.com. Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. Neither the firm nor its agents nor representatives may give tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a qualified professional for guidance before making any purchasing decisions.
You know, as they say, one person's personal information is another person's treasure.
That's why I don't go online without connecting to NordVPN. I don't want anyone stealing my personal information and snooping on my browsing activity. Also, TechRadar named NordVPN as the most trusted VPN by casual users and experts. Features like Threat Protection Pro safeguard your devices from phishing websites, scan downloads for malicious files, and disable intrusive ads and trackers so you can surf more safely online. Just check NordVPN.com, grab the deal, and see for yourself. By the way, you can protect up to 10 devices with one account. NordVPN. Cybersecurity built for every day.
News. All the headlines that matter to me.
Weather.
If it's going to rain, I want to know.
Traffic.
Well, nobody wants to be late for work.
And who brings you that information every morning?
This is Tom Ackerman.
I'm Megan Lynch. Hi, I'm Debbie Monterey.
I'm Roger Brand.
It's Total Information AM with everything you need to know.
What's going on in the world?
Weather reports are so important to start the day.
Tell me where the traffic is so I can get to work on time.
Total Information AM, mornings on KMOX.
Find out what's happening.
And always live on the free Odyssey app. St. Louis stories. St. Louis pride. KMOX is the voice of St. Louis.
Well, yesterday, Gabe Gore was sworn in as the city's circuit attorney after he was elected for the position in November. Gabe Gore, of course, being the circuit attorney who took over after Kim Gardner stepped down from her disastrous position there as circuit attorney.
How do you really feel?
Oh my gosh. I think she will go down definitely in history as one of the worst St. Louis elected officials of all time.
I'm
if
with you.
not number one. But on the opposite spectrum of that, someone who has really stepped in to an unenviable position to take over that office, the disaster that it was under Kim Gardner, is Gabe Gore. And the work he's done in the St. Louis Circuit Attorney's Office has been really commendable, especially considering that he had to not only take over a chaotic dumpster fire of an office, but he had to build up staff too,
did.
because she lost so much staff.
And he brought so much stability to the job that a lot of folks who were very good attorneys working in the circuit attorney's office, but they just got tired of how she was doing things. They had left. They came back. And that was a huge help to him to get folks who understood the court system. They understood the cases that were there. Some of them even picked up old cases that they used to have that they weren't allowed to really see all the way through. And now they got an opportunity to get back. Gabe Gore has really done a fantastic job. Mike Kehoe was just talking about him on the radio the other day and what a difference he has made so far.
Yeah. And he, according to his office, he has reduced the warrant office backlog by 60%. He has hired 33 new employees and counting.
Yeah.
He also got rid of Gardner's quote unquote exclusion list
Yes.
that stopped certain police officers from testifying in criminal cases. And this was not a Brady list.
No.
Which is made public, and there are reasons why you can't take evidence from certain officers. This was just her personal exclusion list, and a lot of officers didn't know if they were on it or not.
They said there were
shrouded in secrecy.
over 20 officers.
Well, I thought it was over 70.
Oh, could have been.
Yeah.
But if these officers brought a case, she wouldn't prosecute it.
Yeah.
She's like, nope, it's from you. That's racist. We're done. I'm
It-
like, what?
It was insane and high profile
Yeah.
homicide cases that would sit on desks of lawyers who were on maternity leave or
Yeah.
who didn't work there anymore. Honestly,
While she went to nursing school.
that is like so insane. And that's where it turns into criminal negligence and
Yes.
incompetence in my mind. Because it's not that you were just in over your head. To be that bad, you have to be trying.
Oh,
You have to be trying to be
By
that
all
bad.
means,
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely. So yes, Gabe Gore officially sworn in. Meanwhile, in St. Louis County, Mike,
Speaking of dumpster fire,
I call it the real council members of St. Louis County in honor of Andy Cohen.
Andy Cohen's new show.
Yeah,
He's doing one at home now. He went political.
He went political.
Let's go.
So a judge heard arguments this morning in the fight over who has the authority to appoint the replacement for St. Louis County prosecutor Wesley Bell. So Wesley Bell officially stepped down today, correct?
Because he's Congressman
Yes,
Bell now.
because he beat Corey Bush for that first district to be representative for the first district over in D.C. David French, who was with the Dispatch and the National Review, now with the New York Times. I'm trying to remember the exact language he used, but he said, basically, Wesley Bell did an incredible service to everyone in Missouri and in the nation.
To the country, yes.
By defeating Corey Bush. And he's like, I don't even know Wesley Bell, but thank you, sir.
I'm a fan of yours and don't even know you.
I don't even know you. And David French isn't even from Missouri. He's
No.
in Tennessee. And at any rate, so Wesley Bell, of course, stepping down from St. Louis County prosecuting attorney. Now, County Executive Sam Page, he says he has the power to appoint Bell's replacement. He has picked federal prosecutor Court Van Ostren, but Missouri's Governor Mike Parson said that he has the power to appoint the prosecuting attorney and named Melissa Price Smith, who has been in that office for over 20 years.
Yeah, and from what I understand, the folks in that office were very excited that she got the nomination from the governor, and that's who they wanted to have in charge of the office. Now, I was just talking to the folks in the newsroom about that. We're waiting for a judge to actually give the decision of, okay, who does get to win out of these two, right? So we've had two come from different places. Who gets to win? And in the meantime, it's up in the air as to who's going to run the office. I mean, Bell's done as of today. Somebody's got to be the interim. And the county council had asked the judge to not allow Sam Page to put Van Ostrin in there because he was going to put him as the interim until this got solved.
Yeah.
And he actually quit his job as a federal prosecutor to come in and do this. I'm like, you probably shouldn't quit a job till you have another job.
Yeah,
Make
no.
sure that's done first.
And-
Note to self.
And the thing with Sam Page, and John Hancock has mentioned this a lot, that a lot of times in politics, you have to be good with people. Goes a long way.
It does help.
Sam Page has gotten really far while being really bad with people. Like, he just is unliked by people around him. He does not have a friendly county council, even
Not
though
now.
they're a Democratic majority.
Yes. And it's
Um,
actually, it's a uniting factor. He is
Yes.
a uniting factor on the county council to go against him. It's 6-1 now with the new county council. They will all be sworn in, or they will start seated as the new council on Tuesday is their first meeting. And it's going to be interesting to see how this works moving forward. This whole thing with the prosecutor has bigger implications than just the county prosecutor, because this is getting us to the fact where county charters have now come into play, because St. Charles County has a charter. So do a few other counties around the state. So if you're a charter county, there's going to be some questions now that say, okay, how much does a charter mean and how much does it not?
Yeah.
So there's going to be some clarifications that are going to come out of this case that are going to have bigger legs.
I do think it's not a good look that the county executive, Sam Page, wants to move forward with Court Van Ostrin when the county council already voted no.
Yeah.
Melissa Price Smith has been in the office. She has worked with violent crime. Court Van Ostrin again said, his specialty was white collar crime, at which point Rita Hurd Days said, I can assure you, Mr. Van Ostrin, you will not be dealing with white collar crime in North County.
Not a lot of white collar crime in North County there.
So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll actually talk with Mark Harder, St. Louis County Councilman, in the 12 o'clock hour. He's Mike Elam. I'm Amy Mark. Scores Bernie Miklas, KMOX sports contributor, joins us next. It's the Chris and Amy Show on KMOX.
What's happening in the world of politics? Find out from the guys who know the game best, Hancock and Kelly.
I love getting to spend time talking politics and life in St. Louis with my pal John Hancock, one of the most politically misguided people I know.
Well, we may disagree about a few things, but it'll be good radio.
Find out what's happening in the world of politics and everything else with Hancock and Kelly.
We like spending time with all of you right here on KMOX.
Friday mornings beginning at 8:30.
No doubt about it.
Only on KMOX.
A 2024 survey by Navitus Health Solutions reported that 48% of Americans have been unable to fill a needed prescription at least once due to the cost. RX Outreach, an online nonprofit mail-order pharmacy based in St. Louis, is committed to providing safe and affordable medications for everyone. They offer over 950 medicines for chronic illnesses and conditions and ship to all 50 states, regardless of insurance, without membership fees or copays. Contact RX Outreach at 314-222-0472 or visit rxoutreach.org.
Febreze. As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust Febreze car vent clips, featuring 3 distinct intensity settings, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing. Which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up! Oscar!
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZzzQuil.
ZzzQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZzzQuil nights. Explore our products at ZzzQuil.com.
At 11:30, cloudy skies, 38 degrees downtown. Good morning. I'm Scott Jagow. The latest from the attack in New Orleans at a Thursday press conference. Christopher Rea with the FBI's Counterterrorism Division said one thing's clear.
This was an act of terrorism. It was premeditated and an evil act. But at this point, we do not assess that anyone else is involved in this attack except for Shamsa Din Jabbar.
The FBI says the 42-year-old posted videos on Facebook saying he was inspired by the Islamic State group, also known as ISIS. Here locally, the fight over who gets to replace the outgoing St. Louis County prosecuting attorney continued today.
Tell me, in addition to answering Judge Richter's question, why the prosecuting attorney is a county officer.
Last month, the judge sided with Missouri Governor Mike Parson, saying the prosecuting attorney is not a county office and represents the state of Missouri, saying the governor gets to pick Wesley Bell's replacement. In their appeal, attorneys for County Executive Sam Page pushed back.
Article 6, Section 11 says, except in counties which frame and amend a charter for their own governments, the compensation of all county officers shall either be prescribed by law or established by each county.
Attorneys General on behalf of the governor argued prosecuting attorneys represent the state of Missouri and prosecute state laws on their behalf despite being paid by the counties. No ruling was made by the three appeals court judges at the time of the hearing. Sean Malone, KMOX News.
Today will be the warmest in a while, 48 this afternoon. Overnight low around 27. We could have a little bit of light snow. Tomorrow, high 38. 31 on Saturday, and then we're watching possible storm activity Sunday, freezing rain, snow accumulating to an inch, upper 20s, and then Monday we could have 3 to 6 inches of snow, and the high will only be 24. Right now, cloudy and 38 downtown. I'm Scott Jagow, KMOX News.
Broadcasting from the Underlaw Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studios.
KMOX, at Uline. The prevailing opinion is, if you don't live it, you don't believe it. The people at Uline believe in hard work, and they live it by being there 24/7 to answer your call, having 41,000 items in stock, and offering same-day shipping from 12 locations across North America. Business owners, sellers, buyers, shippers, and packers believe it. Uline is the hard-working, dependable source for your shipping and industrial supplies. Visit uline.com.
Podcast The Bernie Miklasz Show today on the free Odyssey app and follow to receive Bernie's daily take on Cardinals, Blues, or whatever else is in the news. AUDACY.
Score! 5-1 St. Louis on the flip from the left point. It is Fowler again, his second goal in his 1,000th National Hockey League game. Well, Fowler.
That was the Blues, who went on to win the Winter Classic game, defeating the Chicago Blackhawks 6-2, audio courtesy of TNT. And we're joined now by Bernie Miklasz. And as always, our Bernie Miklasz Report is sponsored by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer. Bernie, Happy New Year. Thanks for joining us today. The first time for 2025.
Yeah, happy 2025. Always great to be with you, Amy. And the Blues certainly were impressive putting on a show. And it's always kind of fun to dishearten all the Blackhawks Chicago sports fans.
It is. And that's the laugh, the dulcet tones of Mike Elam, Bernie, who's filling in for Chris Ranji, who was in Chicago for that Winter Classic. And what I love about Chicago is that you can pretty much always kick them while they're down because they're always down, really.
They had their glory days when Joe Quenneville was leading them to multiple Stanley Cups, but it's been a rough ride the last few years. So I'm surprised a team that's got Connor Bedard, such a gifted offensive player, just can't gain any traction as a team. I guess you'd have to look at the front office and ask them why they can't improve the Blackhawks and build around Connor Bedard. Maybe it's going to take a little longer than they thought. I don't know.
Yeah, no, they've been, I feel like ever since when they won those Stanley Cups, right towards, the mid 2000s, and then they got weighted down by those contracts, like with Patrick Kane and Duncan Keith, and they just couldn't recover from that. Now Connor Bedard, very exciting, but the Blackhawks are struggling. The Blues looked good. The only team to be 3-0 in Winter Classic record.
I'm really very fired up by the Blues, the big change under the Blues since Jim Montgomery came the head coach. Look, they went through a little quiet phase where they weren't great, but the bottom line, his first game as the Blues coach was November the 25th. And when he took over the Blues, they were 26th in the league in points percentage. So there's only 5 teams worse than them at that point in time. Since Monty's been the coach, the Blues are number 10 in the league in points percentage, 618. And there's only been only Vegas and the LA Kings and Edmonton and Colorado. Only 4 teams in the West have been better than the Blues since he became coach. The question is, and they've improved so much in terms of their goal share. The high danger areas have like flipped dramatically in favor of the Blues. The only question is, like, the Blues, like if they had Montgomery as the coach, if you take his the work he's done in his how many games is it? I'm sorry, 17 games, right? They would be on a pace to finish like with 93 points. Like if he coached them the entire season, it'd be 93 points. But I still don't know that would be good enough to get them into the playoffs. So because the West is so stacked, I mean, the Western Conference is really strong. Montgomery, there's no question he's turned the Blues around, and in pretty convincing fashion. But I still don't know if it's going to be enough to get into the playoffs. They're going to have to play really great from this point on. And I looked at Money Puck today, moneypuck.com. The Blues have about a 13% chance to make the playoffs. But that can change. They just have to get really, really hot. And they can't. They have to avoid any kind of prolonged slumps.
Yeah.
Hey, Bernie, it's Mike Elam. Did you get a chance to watch? Hey, man, did you get a chance to watch any football over the weekend?
Yeah, I mean,
over the week, I guess the case would be. I felt like yesterday was Sunday.
Yeah,
it felt like Sunday all day long yesterday.
Yeah, I first of all, I thought Boise State acquitted itself well. I know they lost by 17 to Penn State. But, you know, they ran more plays. They had more yards. They just kept self-destructing once they got into Penn State territory. But I think Boise State, I thought they were actually going to give them a closer game. But you know, when you turn the ball over 4 times, you're going to lose. I thought that Texas kind of set itself up to be in a dogfight that it never should have gotten into. And that was a great game.
It was.
Credit to Arizona State. Playing entertaining football and scaring the devil out of the Texas Longhorns. But the Texas Longhorns refused to run the ball until the fourth quarter. Their game plan was about as incompetent a thing as I've witnessed during the college football playoff season. I mean, Texas got a big offensive line. The way they have won traditionally this season, they overpower teams. They wear them down. But instead, Steve Sarkisian, the coach, kept throwing the ball, and there was a lot of quick possessions. And so the Texas defense was on the field all day, and they ultimately ran out of gas. So he negated with that game plan that he basically gave away an advantage that Texas should have had. And I don't understand it. They are very fortunate to survive. Now, as far as Ohio State, maybe the best thing that ever happened to them was losing to Michigan because it brought the whole team together. And, you know, they're like us against the world. You know, our own fans turned on us. The media turned on us. Everybody's turned on us. No one believes us. And I was joking around, you know, the old expression, the cliche is like, well, they got a chip on their shoulder. I mean, that team which shredded Oregon yesterday, that team's got a wood chipper on its shoulder. I mean, I don't think anyone can beat them. If they maintain this form or even close to it, this is clearly the strongest team in college football right now. And this is the team I think that everyone thought that Ohio State would be, but there were a couple of bumps along the way. But the way they recovered from that loss to Michigan, man, it's kind of scary if you have to line up and face them. And I know Texas will get that shot next.
It just kind of shows you that there are some mortal sins you cannot commit and still continue to live. And one of those is lose to Michigan when you're Ohio State. They don't care if you win a national championship if you lose to Michigan. Michigan game, and to some of those fans, is a bigger deal than the national championship, I think, which is kind of funny.
I just wonder if, you know, after 2 incredibly convincing playoff wins, you know, they destroyed Tennessee and absolutely destroyed Oregon, who was unbeaten coming into yesterday. I wonder if the Ohio State fans will they allow Ryan Day to stay as their coach? I'm just wondering, is it okay for him to continue?
I think he kind of has to win the national championship to keep his job, which is an amazing thing to say.
I think he maybe. Let me put it this way: I think if he gets to the national championship game, he'll keep his job.
I think you're right.
Listen, that insane faction of Ohio State fans don't speak for all their fans. They're just the loudest and the noisiest. And at least by winning a couple of these games, if we are to believe what Kirk Herbstreit was saying about Ryan Day's getting threats and Ryan Day having to hire security to protect his home from the lunatic fringe of Ohio State fans. At least now, these two playoff victories and the way they annihilated Oregon, maybe Ryan Day doesn't need to have a food taster for a while. I don't know.
He definitely had one before.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah,
I don't know. They're fun, and then today will be fun too. I think Notre Dame beats Georgia, but I say that wincing because it's like, don't count out Kirby Smart. He always gets that team ready to play. I think Notre Dame's really, really good, though. And remember the game they had with Georgia Tech, and remember the quarterback for Georgia Tech. His name's Haynes King, and he ran Georgia's defense around in circles.
He did.
He passed the ball really, really well. He had a huge game, and Georgia really couldn't stop him, even though they won the game in 8 overs. You know who's a similar quarterback to Haynes King? Riley Leonard is a sort. They're virtually the same in terms of their style of play. So I think Riley Leonard will make a big difference for the Fighting Irish today.
Bernie, just in your experience in sports, because we've seen games, professional sports, college sports, after tragic events, national events. With what happened in New Orleans, right? The Sugar Bowl now, it will be played this afternoon instead of yesterday. Do you think this affects the players a lot? Their mentality, is it once they're on the field, they won't be thinking about it anymore? How do you think this affects that game?
I think once the game starts, that's all that's on their mind. I mean, and it has to be that way. I mean, if you're going to do your job and you're going to try to win a national championship, you have to block everything out. And I don't think that sounds callous to say that. That's just the reality of sports competition. And what I have found through the years is that whenever there's some national tragedy or just some horrible thing that has happened that in the days before a game, well, we recognize that the games are secondary, of course. But to me, this has always served as kind of an inspiration. If you go back to 9/11 and when baseball resumed its schedule and the scenes around ballparks all over the U.S., including Jack Buck with that stirring poem delivered at Busch Stadium, the first game back from 9/11, the country was inspired. Sports fans, players were inspired. Everybody wanted to give their best and be at their best. And it was like that when the NFL resumed as well. There was that game where the New York Giants were playing at Kansas City, and you wouldn't have known that they were a visiting team because Chiefs fans, and this was all over the place, were honoring the fallen heroes, the fire department and the New York PD, things like that, and also just grieving for New York, even though a lot of the people that died 9/11 were from various places, but the whole country was fired up to support New York after 9/11. And I really think there's a dynamic in place for this type of thing today. I think we'll see two very emotional teams, and I think we'll see an incredible crowd that before the game, when it's time to have a moment of silence or whatever ceremony they're going to have, you're going to see America at its best, and we'll all be very inspired by it.
Looking forward to the, I guess, Cotton Bowl a week from now. We talked about Oregon we talked about how Ohio State just pummeled Oregon, and then Texas barely squeaked out a victory. Fair to say that Ohio State has 99.9% of the momentum going into the Cotton Bowl?
If they play the way they've played, against Tennessee and then Oregon, and this is kind of like a reborn team, so to speak, in terms of their spirit, no one's going to touch them. It's certainly not Texas, because Texas is really, really good, but they're vulnerable, and I'm not sure why they're so vulnerable in games. I mean, I don't know how they could lose to Georgia 2 times, especially when Georgia brought in the backup quarterback because he had to finish the game in the SEC championship. And there's just a way they let Arizona State hang around. I mean, if that happens in the Cotton Bowl, it'll be another blowout.
Hey, Bernie, I did want to ask you one thing about that Texas game, because we saw something happen with the MVP of that game that you never see. The losing team had a player that was named the MVP of that game. Is it Cam Skattebo? Is that how you say his last name?
Skattebo, yeah, Skattebo.
That kid was a monster, and he willed himself that entire game to just keep Arizona State in that game and to bring them back. I don't know that I have seen a performance that great in years from one individual player. I mean, he put this team literally on his back. He threw a touchdown. He ran in a touchdown. He carried in a touchdown. I mean, it was amazing.
He was a beast, and
he was.
He's been their driving force all season. I mean, he's been a great back, and it's why he finished, I think, 5th in the Heisman.
He did.
And I'm a Heisman voter, and I wish I would have had like four places. I would have put him 4th, and I nearly put him 3rd, and I almost regret that now. I think I should have voted him 3rd. And the thing, the dangest thing about that was that Texas had him bottled up. They were doing a great job on him for a really good amount of that game until it got late. And then the Texas defense was on the field a lot because of their malfunctioning offense. And Skattebo and a pretty good Arizona State offensive line started to beat up on Texas. But there were times where, he was getting sick on the sideline. He looked absolutely exhausted. He'd have to leave the game and just go sit down for a minute and then come back in. The fact that he summoned that energy and that will to do all those incredible things in the second half of that game, that's about as impressive as I've seen in college football this year. And no disrespect to all the other players, but no, I hadn't seen anything like that, because it looked like he was about to tap out, that he couldn't go anymore.
A lot.
And then he found this hidden reserve of energy and resolve, and it was really an amazing thing to behold. And they got it right by naming him the MVP.
I agree. It was one of the most inspirational performances I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's like Michael Jordan's flu game.
Yeah.
I just hate throwing up. So if you can do anything while you're throwing up, I'm super impressed. It's the worst. It's the worst. Bernie, thank you so much for joining us. The first time in 2025. Before we let you go, do you want to tell us about Saliga?
It would be my honor. Thank you, Amy. And Mike, thank you too, my friend. Saliga Heating and Cooling, it is an independent American standard heating and air conditioning dealer. Been taking care of St. Louis family since 1927. I've said this many times. I'll say it again. I love this. The Saliga family has owned the business for 4 generations. So you've had 4 generations of Saligas taking care of 5 generations of St. Louis families. And I just ask you a simple question. If they're going to be coming up on 100 years in business in the same building down on Gravois, by the way, how do you last this long and still be thriving unless you are truly great at what you do? And that means your knowledge, your professionalism, your honesty, your reliability, right on down the list. You're not staying in business and thriving 100 years later unless you're excellent across the board. And I know this from personal experience, because Saliga has been taking care of us for about 16 years. I heartily recommend them to anybody who's wondering who to call. I would say call Saliga Heating and Cooling. Plus, you get that American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer. But you can trust them. You can count on them. I'm going to tell you to go to SaligaHeatingandCooling.com and check out the Priority Club. It is a maintenance program. If you become a member of this program, we are members of the program. It's been worth every penny, although it's not all that expensive. Some of the benefits of preventative maintenance include safety, peace of mind, economical value, because it extends the equipment life. They can fix small problems before they become big problems, and it's service that you can trust. You also get priority scheduling. So if you want to see all the services and find out more about the Priority Club, go to SaligaHeatingandCooling.com, and they have financing options available subject to credit approval. That's SaligaHeatingandCooling.com.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
I'll trust water bottles and a flashlight to save the day, but I'll be proved wrong.
With a tornado approaching, I'll realize that I lack a wheelchair-accessible shelter.
When the floodwaters rise, I'll be up in the attic with 20 cans of beans. It's a recipe for disaster.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Trust and Will knows that we'll all eventually need a will. How about right now? Trust and Will makes creating your will easy, like while you're lounging on the couch easy. Trust and Will is designed by attorneys but customized by you, and all documents are state-specific and secure. Find your plan at trustandwill.com and use offer code RADIO now for 10% off. That's trustandwill.com, offer code RADIO. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. Visit trustandwill.com for details.
Weeknights at 6. It's the Gray Bar Sports Open Line.
Do welcome you in right here on KMOX. My name's Matt Pauley.
Matt Pauley has everything sports, from what's happening with your Cardinals,
A lot of Cardinals baseball stuff. A lot to get into.
to the sports news of the day,
Let's talk a little St. Louis Blues hockey.
interviews and special guests. It's all waiting for you with Matt Pauley.
It's all coming up.
The Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Weeknights at 6 on KMOX.
News Radio KMOX, the home of the Cardinals.
All right, how's everybody doing on their New Year's resolutions?
Woo, yeah!
I didn't make any though.
I didn't either.
Okay, well, Matthew Pajeski,
I kind of did.
you did?
Kind of. The resolutions I make aren't like objective. Like I can't really keep track of them, but I want to.
What do you mean you can't keep track of
I
them?
can't really keep track
Is it
of
like
them.
be a nicer person?
No, it's I want to be more outgoing with my music. I like
Yeah?
to play guitar, and I'm kind of confined to my bedroom when I play guitar. I want to put myself out there. and
But you're
do
sharing those
open
with the
mics.
world.
Yeah,
You're
that's
putting
true.
those on
But,
social
like,
media.
It's not something I can track. I'm not losing 2 pounds this week and 5 pounds the following week. It's just sort of like a mindset that I want to put myself into.
Yeah, I think you could, but you could track it. Every time you post a video, make a phone call, you should play at a local
Yeah,
coffee shop.
That's what I want to do.
You could have one that says, how often do you post them right now?
Like videos.
Yeah.
Whenever I feel like it, it's just totally random.
So it could get you to, hey, once every couple of weeks,
Yeah, get on a
I'm going to
schedule.
post a video.
I should.
I thought it was interesting in watching all the Apple Watch commercials yesterday that they were talking about there is a National Quitters Day of people who make New Year's resolutions. What they say, Matt? It's the second Friday of the year.
Yeah, that's it.
So second Friday of the year is actually known as Quitters Day. I had never heard that before. I don't know if Apple Watch just made that up, but if they did, good on them. Like that was very good.
That's pretty good. January 10th this year, then, is Quitters Day.
All right, so we should have a party.
We should have a party. We got to think of something to do. Here's our problem, Mike.
What's that?
I think we're not great at planning ahead, maybe. I
Could
think,
be.
because here's the thing. We found out that it was International Bacon Day on Monday.
No way,
This past
really?
Monday. And we found out like midnight. I don't know. Our boss
missed
texted us
Bacon
like
Day.
at midnight, hey, tomorrow's International Bacon Day. What are you guys doing? And of course, we weren't ready for it. We were very unprepared.
We reached out to the pork producers and,
And,
said, hey,
what can you do
want to
for
bring
us?
some bacon in?
Because what we wanted to do, what we thought of too late,
Yes.
was broadcasting live from the Bacon Log Cabin in Baldwin.
Wait, there's a bacon log cabin?
There is. It is not made of bacon.
Oh.
There was a guy, I don't know, Robert Bacon,
Mr. Bacon.
Francis Bacon. Yeah.
Oh.
He had a log
Completely
cabin.
different appeal now.
Totally, but the
Yeah.
idea, I like the theme. And really log cabins kind of look like bacon because the brown strips
I'm with you.
of logs.
I can see that.
It'd be like bacon. But if we had planned ahead, maybe we could have broadcasted live from the historic Bacon Log Cabin off of Henry Road.
You know, there is nothing that bacon doesn't make taste better. If you put bacon with anything, it tastes better.
See, I was kind of poo-pooing bacon. It's not that I don't.
Oh, wow.
I know. It's not that I don't like bacon. It's just, it's overexposed.
I think that's heresy.
It's over. We've
I don't know
overdone
that I
it.
can stay on this show with you anymore. I may have
Bacon.
to leave after that.
Do you have bacon bed sheets? You can buy those.
I would take them. That's awesome.
They're scented too.
Of course they are. Why wouldn't they be?
You roll out of bed.
I mean, come on.
Smelling like bacon. The last place I saw bacon bed sheets? Sky Mall.
Wait, the last time that you so this is not just a once this isn't something you saw online. The last time I saw bacon bed sheets, I haven't seen them for the first time. But you've seen them so many times that you've ranked them.
Yes. Sky Mall magazine. Remember Sky Mall
I
magazine?
do remember that.
I miss Sky Mall magazine.
Well, they've got the internet now.
Well, they went out of business probably, but
That would make sense.
the bacon bed sheets. But yeah,
That's awesome.
bacon's a little overexposed. It's just
It's
like
not.
Ryan Reynolds.
It's
okay. You know how he's
Ryan
everywhere?
Reynolds overexposed. Bacon
Overexposed.
still there.
Okay.
Still there.
Well, this is why we're the voice of St. Louis. We have differing opinions.
The voice of St. Charles endorses bacon on the voice of St. Louis.
Oh my gosh, we have the voice of St. Charles in here.
There you
This was
go.
a mess up. We made a mistake.
It's on my pen. Oh, no.
I've never really done resolutions except for once, and I was 12 years old. I was a very serious child.
And that hasn't changed.
Yeah, no, I'm still as uptight as ever. This is actually the wild version of me. You guys have no idea how much wilder I am right now.
There's a wild version.
This is it. You're looking at it, buddy.
Wow. Calm down.
When I was 12, I realized I decided that I was going to run or work out like
Okay.
every day. Now, I was an athlete already. I'm an athlete. Sorry. That sounds really highfalutin. I played CYC soccer.
Okay. That's an athlete.
Yeah. And hockey and tennis. So I like to play sports.
Okay.
So it wasn't like I had been sedentary, but I just felt like a disciplined person should have a routine. So I started a running routine and workout routine, not like marathoning, but just being active. And I've been doing that ever since.
Good for you.
That's the only
So
time.
your New Year's resolution is to keep your resolution from 12 going.
That's right.
I'm here to just run my mouth. With my knees, I don't run.
He's Mike Elam. I'm Amy Mark Scores Councilman. St. Louis County Councilman Mark Harder joins us next right here on KMOX.
Hey, this is Tom Ackerman. Missouri sports fans, we have good news for you. Underdog is available to play in your state. Underdog, the best place to cash in during the playoffs. With their champs game, you can win up to 1,000 times your money by just choosing higher or lower on players' stats. You can pick yards, touchdowns, interceptions, and much more. It's the only champs platform, Underdog, that puts the power to cash out in your hands. And now you can either keep riding with your entry or tap the Win Now button to cash out whenever you want. I love to play it. I can't wait to play my next play. Underdog is the best place to play champs. Download the app, sign up with promo code TOM, deposit now, get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code TOM. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for less. And for a limited time, new customers receive their second month free when they sign up and use promo code SECONDFREE by January 26th. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
KMOX, KECK HD2, K254CR, St. Louis.
The legendary voice of St. Louis, KMOX. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
I plan to rearrange my closet, but I stopped after picking the clothes up off the floor.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel's award-winning language learning app will help you start speaking another language. Start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks.
Comment tu t'appelles? Comment tu t'appelles? Vous êtes où?
Vous êtes où?
Babbel's bite-sized lessons make it easy to learn words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks,
"How's your French going?"
you can say,
Babbel est amusant et facilite grandement l'apprentissage d'une nouvelle langue. Et cela ne prend que 15 minutes par jour.
when you want to really learn another language, it starts with Babbel. Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
At 12 o'clock, cloudy skies, 40 degrees downtown at the Arch. Good afternoon. I'm Scott Jagow. This news update sponsored by Michael's Flooring Outlet, the flooring experts, michaelsflooringoutlet.com. Our top story this hour, the latest from the attack in New Orleans. At a press conference this morning, Christopher Rea with the FBI's Counterterrorism Division said one thing is clear.
This was an act of terrorism. It was premeditated and an evil act. But at this point, we do not assess that anyone else is involved in this attack except for Shamsa Din Jabbar.
He says the 42-year-old Jabbar posted videos on Facebook saying he was inspired by the Islamic State group, also known as ISIS. New Orleans plans to reopen Bourbon Street this afternoon ahead of today's Sugar Bowl, but it'll come with heightened security. Josh Jackson with the New Orleans ATF says Louisiana's governor invoked emergency resources.
This allowed us to bring additional explosive detection canines so that we can safely sweep the city in preparation for the game today. These resources will still be in the city as we lead up through Super Bowl and through Mardi Gras.
Here locally, do prosecuting attorneys work for the state of Missouri or the county?
We've got Article 4 that says that the governor shall fill vacancies in public offices unless otherwise provided by law. Then we've got 10505.
That argument is at the heart of St. Louis County Executive Sam Page's appeal of a ruling that Governor Mike Parson can choose the replacement for Wesley Bell. In the appeal hearing, attorneys general argued that although prosecuting attorneys are paid by the county and elected by county voters, they work for the state.
Every day, the prosecutor will walk into court and say, I represent the state. People will call him the state.
Attorneys on behalf of Sam Page argued state law and the county charter grant him the right to pick Bell's replacement. No decision was made immediately following the hearing by the three appeals judges. Sean Malone, KMOX News.
Many people are taking the month off from drinking. It's called Dry January. Dr. George Koob with the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse says there are tangible benefits.
Some of the things that people report and actually have reported is more sense of achievement. They saved money, something to consider. They slept better. They had a little more energy. They lost some weight.
He says the bottom line is if your body feels better when you're not drinking, then it's trying to tell you something. From the KMOX business desk, Powell Hall should finally reopen this fall after several years of expansion and improvements. Kat Neville with Explore St. Louis cites another historic building that will reopen.
The old courthouse, which is going to be opening up in May. Obviously, that is where the Dred and Harriet Scott case was originally brought. That's going to be a really exciting opening for us here in St. Louis.
It's only the second major renovation to the courthouse since it was built in 1839. Accessibility is one major improvement, along with a new focus on Harriet and Dred Scott's fight for freedom. Your weather is sponsored by Financial and Tax Strategies. This afternoon will be the warmest day in a while, 48 for a high. Overnight, we could have a few flurries, a low of 27. Tomorrow, 38. Saturday, 31. Then we're watching storm activity from Sunday through Monday afternoon. On Sunday, maybe a mix of freezing rain, sleet, snow, accumulations around an inch, a high in the upper 20s. But Monday, we could have total snowfall of 3 to 6 inches and even higher amounts north of the city, 24 for your high on Monday. We will keep you updated throughout the weekend on that situation on KMOX. Right now, we have 40 degrees downtown at the Arch. I'm Scott Jagow, KMOX News.
It's never too early to start thinking about your retirement journey, and it's never too late either. You just need to know that the steps may look a little different. Listen to Wealth and Wisdom with Gary Goldberg, Saturday mornings at 7 here on KMOX.
This hour of the Chris and Amy Show is brought to you by Budget Buddy, helping you save big on coffee so you can buy more coffee.
Amy Mark Scores and Mike Elam alongside you on a Thursday here in 2025. Here
but
we are.
It feels like a Monday.
It feels like a Monday. I am so confused, and I keep forgetting that tomorrow's Friday because we have our no prize football pick'em tomorrow, and our celebrity guest picker, who will be representing the famous people side of things, is St. Louis Circuit Attorney Gabe Gore. He joined us last time. as our guest on the No Prize Football Pick'em. So that
How
will
is
be
he as a
tomorrow.
picker?
He's good.
He's a grinner. He's a picker and a grinner. Sorry.
Is that an old song?
That's a hee-haw flashback.
Oh,
I'm
man.
a picking and I'm a grinning.
I've never.
That's because you're 40.
Seen that.
When you get to be in your upper 50s, you know old stuff.
Yeah.
See, Matt thinks you tried to make him old because he's not a beta.
Yeah, he's
but-
not a beta.
Yeah.
But though, he is an old soul. This guy
He is an old soul.
He knows a lot of old movies. And when I mean old movies, I mean black and white.
Oh, wow.
Old school
Look at
movies.
you.
Talkies.
He was
He's
giving
a big Al Jolson guy.
He's
into
giving
all of them.
giving me trouble for not liking AI. This guy's barely okay with talkies, with movies. Hey, let's move over to the St. Louis County Council because a lot's going on. Today, St. Louis County Prosecutor Wesley Bell is officially stepping down as he goes on to serve as the representative for District 1 in U.S. Congress. And before he did that, he did refile, this was a few days ago, refile a petition to remove St. Louis County Councilman Dennis Hancock from his position over a nepotism hire. And also this morning, a judge heard an appeal on who will have the authority to appoint this new St. Louis County prosecutor. Sam Page has his pick in Court Van Ostren, while Governor Parson has picked Melissa Price Smith from within the county prosecutor's office. And joining us now is St. Louis County Councilman Mark Harder. Thank you for joining us today, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Mike and Amy.
Let's start with the county prosecutor's office and this appeal that was heard today by a judge. Is there any update on whether or not the judge will rule today, and if we will have an interim county prosecutor starting today?
We haven't heard anything. They're last I heard, they're in deliberations with the panel of the appeals court. So I would think that we might hear something by the end of the day, if not first part of tomorrow, and we'll know where we need to go from here. But I feel pretty confident that the governor's pick will be a good pick for St. Louis County, and that he, I think, at the end of the day, will win out on this appeal.
Hey, Mark, it seems like you guys just have a ton of things going on right now. I mean, you're dealing with a budget shortfall. Wesley Bell brought back those charges against Councilman Hancock, and there's a question of what's going to happen there. Your next meeting is coming up on Tuesday, correct?
Yes, that'll be the first meeting of the new year, and we'll have a swearing-in ceremony in the afternoon for 2 new council members, and then that evening of Tuesday at 6:30, we'll have our first meeting of the new council. We'll vote on new leadership, which will be chair and vice chair, for the coming year, and we'll get busy on the problems that we have to try to solve in the next year.
So what are you going to tackle first? I mean, you've got a very unique group that it seems like with this new council that's being set, you're going to basically be 6-1 against Sam Page on a lot of things that he's talked about so far. The council has already voted with your previous council not to put Court Van Ostren in there. So what are you guys going to try and tackle as your first order of business?
Well, we've got a huge budget deficit right now. Even the amended budget that we passed in the end of December still doesn't balance our budget. And so we're going to have to set up some type of committee going forward that we can deep dive in line by line in every department of St. Louis County and find savings where we can. We've also got to look at our revenue side, and we got to see where we can enhance our revenue some way or another. We've already raised fees on certain services. That's been done already. So we got to look at other areas. But the big thing that's killing us is the sales tax. St. Louis County government is very dependent on sales tax in the region. And that has been flat to slightly up over the last couple of years. And that's basically since COVID. And people are buying more things online. And so when you buy things online, you're not paying local tax. You're paying a state tax to the state, about 4%, but you're not paying what you would normally pay in a bricks and mortar store in St. Louis County. And so as people switch their buying patterns, we're losing a lot of money right there. And it's been estimated anywhere between $15 and $20 million we're losing to the internet based on that perceived tax.
St. Louis County Executive Sam Page earlier this month criticized the council's proposed budget cuts. The council approved $14 million in cuts to next year's budgets. And he said if that is proposed, that ARPA-funded projects would be put on hold. Is that where we're at?
No. The ARPA projects have been approved in this past year. Those will move forward as we've said they will. Mr. Page has a problem with accounting, and so from that standpoint, he hasn't seen the budget cuts that we're going to propose here in the next year. So he's going to have to deal with a much smaller government if we are to be solvent at the end of this coming year. So everybody better tighten up and sharpen their pencils because we can't continue to be this way going forward.
You know, Mark, as you start to look at all these different challenges that are mounting up, it's interesting that you're a split council. You're 4 Democrats, 3 Republicans, but yet you have found a way to work together where you have like I said, 6-1, basically, 3 Democrats, 3 Republicans working together. How did you guys manage to put that coalition together?
I think a lot of it has to do with Sam Page.
There's a mutual dislike.
There's a mutual dislike there, and the old phrase, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, kind of thing. And so there's equal number of Democrats that do not like his management of the county as well as Republicans. And the people of St. Louis County will have a choice here in less than 2 years to decide, is this the glide path we want to be on and the leadership that we want to continue in next 4 years after that. So there's a lot of things there, and he just doesn't seem to be getting the message. And so hopefully this coming year he will get the message because we will learn to live within our means.
So with the Councilman Hancock matter that is sitting out there, I know Wesley Bell was trying to get him removed from the council. Obviously, Bell's done as of today. It doesn't sound like, unless we hear something from a judge pretty soon, there's really not even anybody officially, quote unquote, running the office with the prosecutors. So I assume that he's just going to stay there until we hear from a judge or we'll hear from a judge, and then we'll find out who the prosecuting attorney is as to whether that's even going to move forward at this point. Is that correct?
Well, no, Bell is moving on no matter what.
Right.
And so he'll be gone. We have a very professional staff over there, and it's one of the largest, if you put it together, one of the largest law firms in the region. And they don't need daily supervision to have a main prosecutor in that place. We can get by, for weeks, and pretty much Bell has been checked out since the election anyway. So they'll get by. There's no rush, but we'd like to get this behind us and move forward. I'm hoping that the judges will see that way, and we'll move forward. And I think there'll be some good things happening in that department for the future.
Just as a point of clarification, I meant Councilman Hancock stays in his role until a judge makes a determination on that. I know Bell's out today, but Councilman Hancock will continue to serve until some some endpoint
resolution.
Thank you.
Yes, he will. And I got a feeling that the way this was politicized with him, that a lot of these accusations and other things that were trumped up on him will probably go away in the near future. So we'll see how that all plays out. It may be a judge that have to make that decision, but we've got to watch that play out for its full length.
Before we let you go, again, we're talking with Mark Harder, St. Louis County Councilman for District 7. Again, with the battle going on with the county prosecutor, with the appeals heard today, the county council also voted on Sam Page's pick, Court Van Asteren, and voted not to approve it. Was there much discussion between the council members and Sam Page about whether or not Page would still push for Court Van Asteren to take that position, even if the council voted against it?
Well, as you're correctly stated, we did have a public meeting, and it is on video if anybody wants to listen to it off of our county website. It was quite interesting and quite revealing. It was about 2.5 hours long. We questioned both candidates extensively on issues dealing with the prosecutor's department. We did have a bombshell dropped on us during that questioning about Sam Page's use of people calling over the prosecutor's office looking for dirt on council members. That was dropped on us in that meeting, so you can watch that as well. But there's a lot of things going on over there in that prosecutor's office, and I think Ms. Smith will be the right person to right-size that department and to bring integrity back to that department and make sure that that actual crimes are being prosecuted in St. Louis County. So I have all the confidence that she will do that, and she's got the experience to do it going forward.
Yes, I did watch that meeting. If anybody is so inclined, make a drink of bourbon or maybe a shot of tequila and watch the 2.5 hour meeting. But yeah, there were some bombshells dropped during that. So Mark Harder, St. Louis County Councilman from District 7, thank you so much for your time today.
No problem. Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year, Mark.
Yeah, Mike, I want to ask you a quick question about that, because this whole county prosecutor thing, whether Sam Page has the power or the governor has the power to do so, obviously in St. Charles, Steve Ellman, the St. Charles County executive, Steve Ellman, he appointed Joseph McCulloch to replace Tim Lomar.
Yes.
And so I know that was kind of an argument from Sam Page saying, well, if the St. Charles County executive got to do it.
Yeah, why does Steve get to do it, but I don't?
Right.
It's because Steve picked a good guy that the governor didn't have a problem with. I think there is.
So it is as simple as that.
I don't know if it's as simple as that, but I think that's part of it. I mean, Joe McCullough was, highly decorated. He's a guy who started as a police officer. His brother was the longtime prosecutor in St. Louis County, Bob McCullough, and Joe went on to have a long career as a attorney after being a police officer, and then he was appointed into this. Obviously, decades of experience moving into prosecuting real crime, not just white-collar crime, and coming in from the Fed. So I think the governor's office may have looked at that and said, hey, we're good with this guy. We don't have a problem. We wouldn't pick anybody better. So we're blessing the Joe McCullough choice, and we're going to move forward. And I think Joe is a fantastic choice, and the voters just elected him after the appointment. He just got that election, just got sworn in last week. But I think that's part of it. I think the other part is you have a attorney general who's loving making headlines. And this was a good one to jump in there and to kind of stick the finger in the Democrat county executive's face and say, nah. On the way out of here, the governor's going to handle this.
He's Mike Elam. I'm Amy Mark Scores. If you're wondering, hey, don't you talk to Major Garrett on Thursdays? We do. We took that press conference. So at 12:30, Major Garrett, CBS Chief Washington Correspondent, will be joining us. It's the Chris and Amy Show on KMOX.
It seems every political administration has a different idea about taxes. No matter where you stand politically, you should know about the new tax proposals from the Trump administration and how they could affect you and your retirement savings. The good news is Steve All and the All Financial Group are here to help. Join us for the upcoming educational seminar Thursday, January 23rd or Tuesday the 28th at Stone Summit. You'll learn about the proposed tax changes from the Trump administration, how these changes could affect your retirement and your income in the future. Again, that's January the 23rd or the 28th at Stone Summit. Reserve your spot by calling 636-230-8824 or go online to yourmoneymattersstl.com. Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. Neither the firm nor its agents nor representatives may give tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a qualified professional for guidance before making any purchasing decisions.
You know, as they say, one person's personal information is another person's treasure.
That's why I don't go online without connecting to NordVPN. I don't want anyone stealing my personal information and snooping on my browsing activity. Also, TechRadar named NordVPN as the most trusted VPN by casual users and experts. Features like Threat Protection Pro safeguard your devices from phishing websites. Scan downloads for malicious files, and disable intrusive ads and trackers so you can surf more safely online. Just check NordVPN.com, grab the deal, and see for yourself. By the way, you can protect up to 10 devices with one account. NordVPN. Cybersecurity built for every day.
The Dave Glover Show.
Anytime you choose the DGS, you're choosing us over like 10,000 other things.
It's challenging, free thinking, topical, and fun.
But I think what's even more important is to stay real and to stay honest and relatable, because people go, I feel you. I understand.
The Dave Glover Show.
Real people having real conversations with each other.
Weekdays beginning at 1 on News Radio 1120, KMOX.
I'm Megan Lynch. This is KMOX, the voice of St. Louis.
Amy Mark scores with Mike Elam. Before we move on to Josh Hawley and his push for a ban on congressional stock trading, wanted to continue a little bit of the conversation regarding the St. Louis County Charter, because Mike, you said this whole debate about who has the power to appoint the new St. Louis County prosecutor really engenders a bigger question about the power of the county charter in general.
It does. And it's going to bring that into play, I think, as we move forward, because after this is done, depending on what the judge says, it's going to open up some things about, okay, well, how much power does the charter actually hold compared to, can the governor just come in and override whenever they want? Because when Steve Stenger left St. Louis County and stepped down as the county executive, then the county council of St. Louis County is the one who appointed Sam Page. He was the chair at the time, and the council appointed Page to be the county executive back then. And that's how that works. So let's say if Steve Ellman decided to step down as the county executive in St. Charles, the way our charter reads, the council would be the ones who appoint the new county executive, and they would fulfill that until the end of the term, to when the county executive would be up for re-election, right? It's kind of like what just happened with Joe McCullough and Tim Lomar that we were talking about. Tim's term actually runs through 26, but the next election was this year, 24. So that's why Joe McCullough ran in 24. Joe McCullough is going to turn around and run again in 26, even though it's a 4-year term. But now with this being questioned, would the governor want to jump in on this and say, well, I think I should be the one to name the new county executive? So I guess that's how we get case law, right? So things come up, questions get raised, and then it goes before a judge, and the judge rules, and all of a sudden we start finding out, okay, what are the true powers? So until those powers are actually questioned in court, I guess we'll call it a mere suggestion, right? Approved by the voters, but still mere suggestion until the judge weighs in.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it makes me wonder, was this just a poorly written charter? Because we've already had discussions about the wording within the St. Louis County Charter, specifically regarding Sam Page and his moonlighting as a doctor, and how the charter says all of their time, all of the county executive's time shall be, committed to being the county executive.
Right.
Well, of course, all of their time, we don't mean 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you're assuming regular working hours. It's a little vague.
But regular working hours aren't spelled out. It doesn't say 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Yes.
Right. So that's why that had to go back to the voters of St. Louis County, and they had to clarify. Nope, you become the St. Louis County executive, you only have one job. You cannot work another job. And then Sam decided to go back and volunteer his time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Whatever. That's a whole other. That's just a guy who I think from time to time loves to thumb his nose and say, "Nah, I think this is what I'm going to do because I just want to push the envelope."
Yeah, it's like the opposite of that book, How to Make Friends and
Influence people.
It's like how to lose
He needs
friends.
to go to Del Carnegie. Come on, buddy.
Influence people. Let's move on over to Senator Josh Hawley.
Speaking of not
President
making
Trump's
friends.
leadership will be key. I can tell you, I'm not going to stop pushing on it. When I started on this, people said, "Oh, don't bother; it'll never pass." Well, guess what? We got it through committee for the first time ever, with the support of every single Democrat and many, many Republicans. This is something that's just very hard to vote against because voters understand there's no reason for members of Congress to be up here day trading.
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot with Chris Ranji, that this seems like a form of insider trading. When you're in Congress, you know what deals are going to be made, what legislation is going to be passed, or you have an inkling. And you, oh, by the way, also happen to own stock in certain companies. This is Senator Josh Hawley pushing for a ban on congressional stock trading. Do you have strong feelings about this?
I think everybody pretty well agrees. I mean, you look at someone like a Nancy Pelosi, right? Who, what do they make? $175,000 a year or something like that. Then obviously there's benefits with packages and stuff. But how do you become worth
500 million, whatever. I think it's something like 500 million.
It's a crazy amount of money that she and her husband are worth. But I mean, how do you make that kind of money, right? Where does that come from? You're a hell of a saver, is what we just found out, right? So you must just eat ramen noodles all the rest of the time. I think there's going to be, though, something that comes into play that says you can't keep them from being able to invest and put their money in stocks. So I think even if this does, it got through committee, but I question whether it's ever going to make it to the floor, right? I think they're going to play ball with this for a while, and they're going to say, yeah, you're going to push the envelope. You get a win on that politically. But this never seems to make it to a full vote, right? There's going to be something else that it typically tends to kill it along the way. I think most people would prefer that they just put their money in a blind trust and that money gets handled somewhere by some investment firm. But then there's always the question of, okay, well, how much is blind, right? And it's not just them. They have families. So if you have families, then how does that work? There's a broader question that I think every time you get lawyers involved, they tend to come up with other questions that we didn't see before.
Right.
And what seems to be a pretty cut and dry black and white issue is never black and white. There's a ton of gray out there.
Well, we can ask CBS Chief Washington Correspondent Major Garrett about it, actually. He joins us next. It's the Chris and Amy Show on KMOX.
Hey, this is Charlie Brennan. I'd love to hear from you, but don't call me between 5 and 6 p.m. weekday afternoons because I'll be listening to Michael Calhoun on Total Information PM. Reliable, balanced, great interviews, local, national, and international. Total Information PM.
Hey, I'm Michael Calhoun. Join me beginning at 5 right after the Dave Glover Show on the trusted voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6986. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6986. That's 800-575-6986. Tax Relief Advocates, real solutions for real people.
Broadcasting from the Underlaw Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studios.
KMOX.
At 12:30, cloudy skies, 42 downtown at the Arch. Good afternoon. I'm Scott Jagow. The FBI says the suspect in the New Orleans terrorist attack likely acted alone, but that 42-year-old Shamsu Din Jabbar of Texas connected himself to ISIS.
Investigators believe Jabbar picked up the rented F-150 in Houston, Texas on December 30th. He then drove from Houston to New Orleans on the evening of the 31st, and he posted several videos to an online platform proclaiming his support for ISIS.
Christopher Rea with the FBI's Counterterrorism Division. Bourbon Street will reopen this afternoon for the postponed Sugar Bowl. Heightened security will be in place, and authorities say that'll continue for the Super Bowl in February and Mardi Gras. Officials say the person who died when a Tesla Cybertruck packed with explosives burst into flames outside a Trump hotel in Vegas was an active duty Army soldier, also a member of the Green Berets. 2 law enforcement officials identified the man inside the pickup as Matthew Livelsberger. Your weather forecast: temperatures steadily declining over the next few days. 48 this afternoon, tomorrow 38 degrees, 31 on Saturday. What we're watching closely is Sunday into Monday. We could have some freezing rain and snow mixed on Sunday with temperatures in the 20s. Monday, we could have 3 to 6 inches or more. We'll be watching that storm, a high of 24 degrees. Right now, it is 42 downtown at the Arch. I'm Scott Jagow, KMOX News.
Hi, this is Debbie Monterey. Join me and my co-host Kevin Short of Clayton Capital Partners for the Business of Family Business, Saturdays at 2.
Join us. We interview many St. Louis business owners and families and learn a lot and have a good time.
So many interesting stories of passing a business along to the next generation or not, and some great tips as well. It's the Business of Family Business here on the Voice of St. Louis, KMOX, Saturdays at 2.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-700-6898. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-700-6898. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-700-6898, 800-700-6898, or biglou.com.
St. Louis's traffic and weather station. News Radio 1120, KMOX.
Well, joining us now, as he does every Thursday, though he was gracious enough to join us a bit later today since we did take the press conference from the FBI regarding the terrorist attack in New Orleans. Joining us now is Major Garrett, CBS Chief Washington Correspondent. Major, Happy New Year. Thanks for being so flexible today.
Sure, no problem. It's been a very busy news week, and I was anchoring all of our special report coverage yesterday and the evening news all this week for Norah O'Donnell. So it's been a very hectic and troubling start to the new year.
Yeah, well, let's start with that, Major. We did hear from the press conference in New Orleans. What about at the Capitol and the discussions this has created within the Capitol, the FBI, about U.S. citizens being radicalized to making sure the inauguration is secure?
So the first point is not new. The radicalization of Americans has been something that the U.S. intelligence community, the FBI, local law enforcement have been dealing with essentially post 9/11, but it ramped up more considerably after the rise of ISIS in Iraq and northern Syria. And we don't know exactly how and what velocity, meaning at what rate, this suspect, now dead, became radicalized. But according to the FBI press conference this morning, having reviewed the videos, which President Biden was the first to tell the country about in his remarks from Camp David last night, made it pretty clear. Radicalization is real. It was something that he not only thought about, but articulated. Why he chose Bourbon Street, why he chose New Orleans, we don't know. And the other big part of the press conference, of course, this morning was explaining how things change in 24 hours in a wide-ranging investigation. I was on the air all day yesterday afternoon, listening carefully to the assistant FBI special agent in New Orleans and the mayor and the police chief say there are accomplices. We need to be on the alert for accomplices, and we can't guarantee immediate public safety. Well, lots of things were learned in the intervening 24 hours or so, and now they believe and have declared, based on what they know at present, lone wolf, single actor, no accomplices, and things are therefore safer in New Orleans than they were soon to have been yesterday afternoon. Those are the two big developments. As for the United States Capitol, look, everything about the United States Capitol dealing with January 6th coming up was going to be a high security, high profile event. The inauguration, of course. Now the state funeral and the lying in state in the Capitol Rotunda of the 39th President of the United States, Jimmy Carter, that will add to that matrix of security preparations and concerns. But there are security concerns in Washington every day, and there have been basically since 9/11. That never ends. That never stops. It becomes less visible, less obvious, and it certainly ramps up and becomes much more conspicuous around these significant events. The only other thing I would add to that is there's another layer, which is threats to members of Congress in a very intense political environment. That's increased dramatically in the last 2 years. That's the one thing that is different than any other preparations for state funeral, National Day of Mourning, inauguration, or anything like that. And that's also part of the security matrix here in the nation's capital.
You know, Major, I wanted to ask you about that fact of it seemed like before the election, everybody was kind of on edge. Depending on, it really didn't matter, I guess, of which way the election went. We were kind of expecting something really bad to happen, that people were very on edge. But it felt like since the election, there's been a calm, at least here in the Midwest. I'm curious about there. It just doesn't seem like people are as on edge as they used to be. Is that a Midwestern feel? Is it different on the coast than it is here?
No, I think it's a powerfully important Midwestern insight into the rest of the country. Look, we were all on edge. I would say we collectively, meaning certainly those who I was talking to in election preparation, election administration, county clerks, state secretaries of state, county officials were nervous about the possibility of violence on election day or violence leading up to election day or possibly violence or the threat of violence at counting centers. None of that happened. The election went smoothly. The result was decisive and accepted. And the country has gone back to where it used to be, moving on from an election. There are disappointed Americans. There are enthusiastic Americans, very similar to previous elections, accepting, of course, the outlier, the unforgettable outlier of 2020, when an election was contested, even though it was fairly conducted and legally applied. We're now back to where we used to be. That's a good thing for the country. It's a very good thing. But this issue that members of Congress are dealing with hasn't subsided. Individual members of Congress, not really well-known members of Congress, not super important people who run committees or have leadership positions, have found themselves either via social media or text or emails or phone calls to their offices, they or their families subjected to all sorts of harsh language, threatening language, and that has captured, of course, their attention and the attention of the Capitol Police. So that's one distinct difference from this otherwise calming and much to be celebrated acceptance of the election and a nation moving on.
Major, moving to now Congress and specifically Senator Josh Hawley. He is hoping to ban stock trading among congressional members, has bipartisan support for this bill. What do you think the chances are that this actually passes?
The possibility of it passing and being signed into law are good if two things happen. Trump endorses it and Trump prioritizes it. Neither of those two things have happened. They both could, and if they do, chances go up exponentially. I emphasize Trump endorsing it, meaning really endorsing it, being visible on it, and second, prioritizing it. And the prioritization matters a great deal because this incoming Trump administration has a long to-do list that it has articulated to the country. And we're going to see tomorrow here in the nation's capital a look into the ability of House Republicans to properly organize themselves to prepare for that agenda. What do I mean by that? Well, there's going to be a vote tomorrow, a not insignificant vote for the House Speaker. Republicans are the majority party by a historically slender margin. If there's any trouble for Mike Johnson being reelected as Speaker of the House of Representatives under Republican control, that will not augur well for the future of the Trump agenda. So a lot more than whether Mike Johnson is a Speaker of the House is going to be decided tomorrow. Among the things that are going to be decided is he going to be Speaker? How smooth is that process? And does the smoothness or lack of smoothness of that process tell the president, incoming, and the country at large how difficult it will be for Republicans to hold together in pursuit of and on behalf of that Trump agenda?
Well, talking about Trump actually putting his thumb on the scale, he did that for Mike Johnson. He came out and said that he has my full support. It sounds like there's really only a couple Republicans that are trying to throw a fly in the ointment here. Am I missing something?
No, but the only problem is that's all you need is two.
That's true. These days we're down to that razor thin of a margin, but I would think that those guys are going to get pummeled by the rest of their cohorts if they continue to hold this up, because the Republicans cannot have another dumpster fire show like they had when the former speaker got thrown out.
And there's an even more practical reason for Republicans to hold together, quite separate from the agenda and how much you are or are not on board as an individual Republican member of the House of Representatives. If there's no speaker, that vastly complicates the certification of President-elect Trump's victory on January 6th. The House needs to be in session. For the House to be in session, it needs a speaker. Now, I wouldn't derail it, but it would vastly complicate it, and the optics around it would be miserable. Miserable.
Right.
The country would watch the certification of a presidential election with a dysfunctional House of Representatives because the majority party, theoretically aligned with that incoming president, can't get itself organized. That would be bad. And I believe that is the core message from President-elect Trump's team to any wayward House Republicans. Look, you can take things up with Mike Johnson later, but do not in any way, shape, or form delay, distract from, or in any way interfere with what President-elect Trump has earned, which is a rapid, clear-cut certification of that election on January 6th.
Yeah, and it seems one of the more outspoken members is Representative Thomas Massie out of Kentucky, who said, and I quote, "I don't know how to say this without cussing. If they thought I had no F's to give before, I definitely have no F's to give now."
Yes, well, that's where we've sort of gotten to in American political discourse. He didn't need to say that. I didn't need to hear it. You didn't need to have to tap dance around the expletives there. And apparently, expletives generate an aura of authenticity in American political life. I didn't know that was a prerequisite. It certainly wasn't for most of the time I've covered national politics. I fundamentally don't believe that it is. I don't believe using expletives makes you any more or less authentic. It may make you more predictable. And Tom Massie is nothing if not predictable. He's against almost everything that doesn't personally benefit him or politically benefit him. He is a outlier's outlier in the Republican coalition. But this is a subset story of the 2024 election. The 2024 election went very well for President-elect Trump. It went relatively well for Senate Republicans. They increased their margin, although they lost a couple of really close races, Nevada and Wisconsin to be specific. But it was not a good election year for House Republicans. That's why this margin is so narrow. And that's why someone like Tom Massey is invested, whether anyone in the Republican coalition likes it or not, with a kind of power unique to a margin that can only allow 2 votes to escape the coalition. That means he's powerful every single day, whether you want him to be or not. And someone who is as alienated from the agenda and the political orientation and who wants to talk about it in that offhand, vulgar sort of way, speaking about the agenda of the incoming president, the Speaker of the House, et cetera, puts Republicans on a rocky start.
Major, no, it's been a long few days for you. Who do you have on the podcast as we let you go?
So Albert Brooks is a really well-known writer and thinker in the space of not self-help, but making yourself a better person and living more happily in the life that you currently exist in. He's not a self-help guru. He's not someone who dispenses sort of dime store psychobabble about how to make a better New Year's resolution. He really does think seriously and studies the science, the internal science, biochemical and otherwise, of what makes people happy, what makes people unhappy, and the patterns to move yourself in a happier direction. Well, it's been a tough week already. We recorded the show a week ago in anticipation of the week of New Year's. So in honor of the week of New Year's and a lot of collective thinking people generally tend toward about how to make things a little bit better and brighter in their life, Albert Brooks is part of our conversation this week.
He is CBS Chief Washington Correspondent Major Garrett. Thanks for joining us, Major.
Have a great week, everybody.
Talk to you next week. That is Major Garrett. Yeah, Albert Brooks, I've read, I think he's the one that I've read several times in The Atlantic.
He's very good.
Yeah, he's good. So he's Mike Elam, also very good. Thank you for joining us.
You.
We've got a few more minutes before we hand things over to the Dave Glover Show.
There's time?
It's flown by.
Let's go.
It's flown by. It's the Chris and Amy Show on KMOX.
Nominations for the 2025 Women of Achievement are now open. This St. Louis Area Award is the oldest ongoing program in the area, whose sole mission is to honor and recognize the volunteer service and volunteer leadership of women. If you know an outstanding volunteer in the St. Louis metropolitan area, or if you are one, Women of Achievement wants to hear from you. Nominations, including self-nominations, may be submitted now through January 11th. For more information, head to KMOX.com.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for less. And for a limited time, new customers receive their second month free when they sign up and use promo code SECONDFREE by January 26th. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details. You know, as they say, one person's personal information is another person's treasure.
Exactly. That's why I use NordVPN every time I surf the web. Features like Threat Protection Pro's safeguard devices from phishing websites and disable intrusive ads and trackers. Just check NordVPN.com, grab the deal, and see for yourself. NordVPN. Cybersecurity built for every day.
Hey guys, Glover here with my friends at Zero Res. It's the biggest sale ever in celebration of the new year. Leave all the 2024 dirt behind with the new year. Out the door 24. Start your freshest year yet and clean 2024 right out of your home. Most importantly, it's the perfect time to talk about all of our services to set the stage for who we are, what makes us unique, and talk about our cleaning services for 2025. Carpets, tile, rugs, upholstery, basically every surface in your home can be Zero Resified. 24% off all of our services. That's the best deal we've ever had. 24% off of all of our cleaning services. At Zero Res, we have a 4.9 rating on Google with over 5,900 reviews. The Zero Res Gotta Love It guarantee. Easy to get what you pay for. Yes, Zero Res absolutely stands behind every single cleaning. 314-474-2020 or ZeroResSTL.com. Again, 24% off all cleaning services for the month of January. Spell it forwards or backwards, it spells the same, Zero Res.
What are your plans this winter? Snowy walk in the park? Curl up by the fire with a nice book? Get stuck in the hospital with COVID-19? If that last one isn't in your plans, and surely it's not, then consider getting an updated vaccine. Because if you're 65 or older, you're 14 times more likely to be hospitalized with COVID-19 than someone under 50. So get your updated vaccine and make the most of this winter. Risk less, do more. Get started at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
I'm Kevin Wheeler. This is KMOX, the voice of St. Louis.
Well, right now we're actually. Did Major Garrett say Albert Brooks or Arthur Brooks? And we re-listened, and he said Albert Brooks, right?
He did.
And Albert Brooks is a comedian and a filmmaker and an artist, or filmmaker and actor, I should say. And I was thinking Arthur Brooks when I said that I had read some of his stuff in the Atlantic, and so then I thought, wait a minute, I was thinking of a different guy, but Arthur Brooks has written a book, does host a podcast, How to Build a Happy Life, which goes along with what Major was saying.
There you go.
But you heard Albert Brooks.
I did hear Albert Brooks.
Who is an actor.
He is.
So we don't know.
And
I think he said Albert, but
Albert Brooks is a really well-known writer and
Sound like
thinker
Albert.
in the space.
he is a well-known writer and thinker.
Then
I mean,
that's-
they've both done a lot because Albert Brooks, he writes a lot of the movies that he's
Yeah.
in, or he is a contributing writer to that. He always plays one of those sort of neurotic type roles. Although I didn't realize in looking through his stuff, we were just talking about he was the voice of Marlin in Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
Like, wait, I didn't know he was in all this stuff, but yeah, I mean, huge career. He attended the Carnegie Institute of Technology, now Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh. So he's always been recognized as a very well thought, well written type guy. He jumps into all those things. I mean, I remember him from Broadcast News and how good he was in there. And then he had that show Defending Your Life, which is where he dies and he has to defend his life. Anyway, it's
never seen that.
you would like
kinda
it.
funny.
You being the very serious person that you are, would like Defending Your Life.
Well, I just think it's funny that we both heard similar names, and both of these men, Albert Brooks and Arthur Brooks, have similar resumes that they fit with Major's podcast and his description. Because
He
Arthur
wrote a
Brooks is
book.
also a thinker.
Albert Brooks, Arthur Brooks is probably more of a thinker, but Albert Brooks actually wrote a book in 2011, and the title of it is 2030, The Real Story of What Happens to America.
Oh.
Yeah, I kind of want to go back
should
now
go
and
get
go,
that.
hey, so Nostradamus, how good were you?
Yeah.
Could you see the future? I don't
Hey,
know.
Mike, I know we have like 2 minutes left,
Oh,
but
wow.
I just saw this from 404 Media, which reports on technology and so forth. So
forth.
Yes. So the Cybertruck explosion.
Yes.
Right. In Las Vegas, in front of the Trump Hotel. According to 404 Media, they report that after the Cybertruck explosion outside of Trump International Hotel in Vegas, Elon Musk remotely unlocked the Cybertruck for law enforcement and provided video from charging stations that the truck had visited to track the vehicle's location. That is according to information released by law enforcement. They said, quote, "We have to thank Elon Musk specifically. He gave us quite a bit of additional information in regards to the vehicle was locked due to the nature of the force from the explosion, as well as being able to capture all of the video from the Tesla charging stations across the country," which sounds really helpful now, but seems like a privacy concern for all Tesla owners, isn't it?
Well, Matt even talked about this before the show when we were back talking about stuff. And he said, if you get a Tesla, you just have to be okay with the fact that you are being tracked. Tesla tracks everything. So if you buy a Tesla, you know that going in. So I don't think if you're a Tesla person, you really care. If you're a privacy concerned person, you are not going to want a Tesla anyway.
Yeah.
They
I'm
are
not,
all up in your business
I,
all the time.
I don't like that. Listen, I am going to die on a gas-powered hill. I'll tell you that. Like, I have no use for electric vehicles. I get it, the climate. I believe that we should be good stewards of this earth. I am concerned about the earth, and we should be good stewards.
I do not think electric vehicles are good for the earth.
You know
I
what?
don't think they're good
This
for
is
the
gonna
earth
make
at all.
So many people mad, but the electricity has to come from somewhere. We don't have the grid. We don't have the infrastructure right now, and the batteries and all of the metals we're getting from China also seems like a huge concern.
If you think you're saving the earth by driving an electric vehicle, you are completely ignoring how you got that electric vehicle, all the pieces in it, and how you're getting the power.
And where do they go when they die? Like because the vehicles, batteries, all
I
of that.
started to say, you mean the people who drive electric vehicles? Wow, you just went different.
dark.
There you go.
And it's not, again, I am not trying to be a crazy person or just say, oh, I hate it. I think we should try new things. I am someone, this is my uptight nature. This is why I'm a conservative, standing athwart history, yelling stop. Nothing's a panacea. There's no such thing as a free lunch.
True.
And that's how I feel about electric cars. But specifically, I don't like that the battery life drops by like 40% if it's too cold, aka below 20 degrees.
Yeah.
It drops when it's too hot because the Teslas were created in California, the perfect climate for batteries.
It's cool technology. It's just not there yet.
Yeah.
And the one thing we learned, if you're a terrorist and you're going to do a car bomb, don't put it in a Cybertruck. Those things are reinforced. You found everything that this guy had in there, man.
That's what CNN said.
That's going to show up in a Tesla commercial somewhere.
Honestly, it will. Hey, he's
Cybertruck. We stand up to everyone.
He's Elon.
I'm Elon Musk. I'm Mike Elam pretending to be Elon Musk. That's Amy Mark Scores.
Yes.
It's been so much fun. We will do it again tomorrow.
Oh, thank you so much. The Dave Glover Show is next.
DGS.
Sayonara, sucker. What is dedication?
The thing that drives me every day as a dad is Dariana. We call him Day Day for short.